Hello and welcome to the Con Couple. I'm Richard.
I'm impressed by the amount of snow. I'm Caroline.
And we go to a frankly terrifying number of cons every year.
Not as terrifying as the snowfall.
Yeah, it's been an interesting weekend.
Yeah, this episode's going to come with a couple additional disclaimers. So, one, we're recording this on hands-free lapel mics in keeping with the laws, in this case, of Kentucky and Ohio.
Yep.
And two, in this particular case, we called our sheriff's office to clarify that we were allowed to drive today.
Yes, because yesterday, I will say this, we were recording this on Monday.
Yep.
Last night, yesterday afternoon, to nobody's surprise, our county issued a level 3 snow warning.
As did the surrounding counties.
Yeah, which is the one where they basically say, if you're on the roads, we might arrest you.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have a very good reason. So if you're not emergency services or having some sort of critical emergency, stay the heck home. And so we were fine when we drove down on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
But it did mean we ended up getting our hotel for an extra night and staying
Which
over.
we expected.
Yeah,
given the forecast.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we booked that. We extended the stay at the hotel room on what? Saturday morning?
Yeah, pretty early on.
We were confident we were going to need it through Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
So we just weren't sure whether or not we would also need it on Monday night. But, so called the sheriff's department this morning and they said they should be lifting the restriction by the time we get there.
Mm-hmm. And they said that the highways were open, which is obviously most of what we're doing. So we did call them to verify that it was okay. And the one that was in the place we're going, not the place we are now.
Yes.
So
the place where we are now is basically fine. There's a bunch of snow, but the highway itself is clear.
Also, this episode might be a little choppy because we are taking additional driving precautions. So if it gets to a point where we can't record or don't feel comfortable talking because we get to a bad piece of road, we will stop and then pick it up again.
We'll pause the recording, do all the safety stuff, because again, I'm going to be honest, I like recording this podcast. It's not worth risking anything dumb.
Yes. So right now we are on a road that is relatively clear.
Mm-hmm.
By relatively, I mean it's pretty clear, generally.
Basically, there's about 2 lanes of perfectly good, drivable stuff in front of us, and there's just a bunch of snow piled up at the side because this is a major interstate. This has been aggressively cleared.
By the way, the sheriff's deputy is the most movie version of a sheriff's deputy that I think.
Yeah, that was great. Again, imagine the most stereotypical sheriff's deputy you can, who's somehow from Texas, despite the fact that he is blatantly from Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
He had a southern accent. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, nice enough chap though. Again, answer my question straightforwardly, politely. Can't really complain.
And yeah, you also have a hotel, right? We normally stay in Airbnbs, but we elected to get a hotel that was across the street from the venue so we could walk over because we didn't know how bad the roads were going to get.
Yes, we should probably, we'll talk about that in detail when we talk about, stuff. So
yeah, there was obviously a bunch of build up to this con given the snowstorms. We'll be talking about that too. We should probably mention the name of the con. So.
Yes, I was going to say, where were we this week, dear?
We were at River City Gaming Convention.
Yes. Which, this is our second year doing this one, I think?
Second year. And I will say we might say Bourbon a couple times during this podcast because there's also Bourbon City Steampunk Convention. Apparently those are both nicknames for St. Louis.
Yep.
And there's some controversy over which one to use. I don't really know. Cities have nicknames.
Yeah. I think it's mostly a case of Bourbon City is taking place at the same hotel later in the year.
Yes.
And the first year of Bourbon City, it was called River City. And then I think they found out that this con exists and they changed their name. So,
I think it was also because other cities are also called River City, they said. So there was confusion with cities in Oregon that were called River City, which I don't know why you didn't just call it St. Louis something, but whatever.
Who knows?
I don't.
Louisville,
it doesn't really matter that much. I don't know why people name things the things that they do. So.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is a board game convention. So 2 of these on the trot, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Everything okay?
Yep. Just a quick notification, but nothing to worry about. So this one is as we stated in Louisville, Kentucky, and this was expected to be your standard board gaming convention. Start on Friday, go through Sunday, and then we were expecting to drive back up after that. Which again, not a major problem. That's pretty normal for us.
And we were monitoring the weather because, as I think most of you know, this weekend there was a big snowstorm that pummeled pretty much everywhere. And also because the news media loves to blow things out of proportion, there's a bunch of contradictory and confusing information about it.
Snowmageddon.
Snowmageddon.
Yeah. We knew that, that there was going to be a bunch of snow, probably a bunch of ice. It was going to get really cold. Exactly how bad it was going to be was... I think every model was giving slightly different information, which did not help the situation at all.
And snow is notoriously hard to predict generally.
Yep.
So that's also kind of a problem.
Yep. But it got to the point where we were like 2 days out from when it was due to start, and the news was basically saying, well, it's going to depend where it, what it does when it hits the Rockies. And I'm like, great, that's helpful, thanks. Which, again, I get the weather forecasting. It is a science, and it's also kind of, it's scientific wild-ass guesswork sometimes. Especially when it comes to how much snow you're going to get in terms of practical terms, because sometimes a whole bunch will fall and none of it lies for various reasons.
Yeah, I think it's also just the news media outlets are annoyed that their partial election of Trump as president has not actually gotten them as many clicks as they wanted, because people are just kind of willfully ignoring all the things he does because no one wants to deal with it. So
yep, everybody's burned out.
Yep.
So as a result, they're just kind of like,
weather. It's exciting.
Yeah.
So they've been blowing this way out of proportion. Yeah. Like, that's not to say you shouldn't take precautions, but
no, you absolutely should.
A couple things we're monitoring are like, what did we want to do in terms of hotel, and also were they going to cancel the con, which they thankfully did not wind up doing, which I am very appreciative of.
Yes.
So I think they took the same philosophy that we did, which is, well, people who are from out of town, if you're just staying at the convention hotel, or in our case, the hotel across the street, like, there's not really any reason to not have the con if you're there already, because you can't go anywhere. So,
yep.
And it's not dangerous to drive down on Friday and then just wait until it's safe to go back home, which is what we did.
Yep.
Because on Friday it was not storming. So.
Yep. So we originally had booked an Airbnb that was about a 15-minute drive away, and on what, Thursday?
Yep.
We were looking at our options, being like, okay, that might not be viable.
Yeah.
So instead, we cancelled that, and we booked we were contemplating just booking a room at the venue hotel. Contemplating, hardy. At the venue hotel itself, which is the the Holiday Inn something or other.
The Holiday Inn, and there's I think an attached Holiday Inn Express that's somehow separate from the Holiday Inn, but that's just what I've heard people talking about.
Yep. Which I think has been under construction for 5 years.
Yep. Their ceiling was also leaking this weekend again.
Apparently it does that sometimes.
Yep.
But yeah. So, again, we actually like this as a convention space for the most part. But
it's a good convention space. It's just the hotel rooms don't really work for us.
Yeah, we were looking at the amenities they have, and there are some additional needs that we have as a result of your disability that that hotel room wasn't going to fulfill.
Yep.
But the Drury Inn across the street did have that stuff, and we're like, okay, looking at the map, it's nominally a 15-minute walk, though that does include a bit of a dog leg around one of the roads, because you're not supposed to cross the highway. But we figured if the snow's got bad enough that we are walking across the highway, there's probably not going to be that many cars on it, so we'll probably be fine. And we were. Yeah.
We did that, I think, once, just at the end of the day, to be cautious generally.
Yep.
And they had what we liked. My only real criticism of it is we did have to take Emma. And Emma just doesn't like hotel rooms, so anytime there was noise or anything, she would just bark. And we took her because, again, it was... Yeah. It was and we did not leave her in the hotel room by herself because we didn't want to disturb the other guests. So
yeah.
The only time I think it was a problem was there were some people who were just doing stuff at 2 a.m. last night, and she was mad about that. But my defense of that is they were up at 2 a.m., so I don't really know what you expected at that point. So...
Yeah, one of the people, while I was loading up the car today, one of the people in the lift was commenting that there seemed to be people running around at weird times.
Yeah.
But there was, I think, quite a few people were using the hotel as kind of a refuge in the storm.
Yeah.
So, they got a room for the weekend just because most hotels tend to have backup generators. And I will say this for the Drury. Free breakfast, free dinner, none of it amazing food, but food.
Effectively free drinks if you're over 21.
Yeah, if you're over 21 and you have to have a room for all of these perks, obviously. But yeah, it's $1 for I think two drinks,
Yep.
which they freely admit that's just because Kentucky law requires them to charge.
Yep.
So they make the charge as low as they reasonably can.
So yeah, we met a lot of people at that hotel who were staying over for the storm. Some of which were having, I think, just kind of storm themed parties, and some like their kids' birthday parties. Like I went to a couple of these as a kid, where like your parents like just book out a hotel for all the kids, and like you get free food for the kids already, so you don't have to pay for it, and then you just go swimming in the pool and like hang out in the hotel and watch like Disney movies.
Yeah.
They're a fun time for kids. So.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think for like a storm-related birthday party, because it's gonna be hard for kids to go to a birthday party otherwise. Like, it's a smart idea.
Yeah.
And more on that later, by the way.
More on that later. We'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, so generally speaking, I think the Drury actually worked for us. Like we're actively contemplating using it again for Bourbon City when we're down
the rooms
there.
are pretty reasonably priced.
Yep.
Slightly more expensive than an Airbnb, but not by much.
Not hideously, like an extra $50, I think.
Yeah, and you would be paying for convenience.
Yeah. And the other advantage of a hotel over an Airbnb is like, if you get to Saturday morning and the weather is looking like you're going to have to stay there Sunday night as well, you just go to the reception and say, "Hey, I'd like to extend the room another day."
Yeah.
They say, "Cool. Can I? Which room number is it? And can you just show me your ID again, just to prove that you are the person who's paying for the room?" Here you go. Lovely. Done that for you. Job done. Mm-hmm. Whereas with Airbnb, if you want to extend your stay, it can get problematic because it's entirely possible that the Airbnb has already been booked by somebody else for that day.
Yep.
So generally speaking, hotels a bit more convenient, especially if you have like potentially iffy situations like that.
Yeah, although I will say hotel amenities vary wildly from this on the kind of extreme end of giving you a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I do think this one is actually based on what I've seen, kind of trying to compete a little bit with the Airbnb market share. Because at Airbnb, you get more space, and you get like more amenities generally too. And I think they're trying to like make you go back to hotels by doing the stuff that we need. Like there's a lot of suites at this one. You can choose your room a lot more. There's a lot of things that they're offering to, I think, kind of pull people away from Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate, because Airbnb landlords are awful. Not that hotel landlords aren't also awful, but at least they're awful in a way that like has to follow like regulations.
Yep. So yeah. So I'm trying to think what order do we do stuff in. Yeah, so we drove down on Friday.
Yep.
And as we mentioned, we actually quite like the Holiday Inn as a convention space.
For a smaller convention, yes.
Yeah, you couldn't hold like Origin here or anything like that, but it's basically got one fairly wide, long corridor with a bunch of rooms off the side of it that kind of arcs around, and it's a nice space.
Yeah. And they also had the sliding glass doors closed, which is they needed to do due to the weather, so I appreciate that they had that. Yeah,
there was basically a sign up on them basically saying the automatic doors have been deactivated due to the cold. The manual doors are on the right-hand side.
Because when they're open, a lot of the outside air comes in and it gets quite cold. So
yeah, that was a sensible decision on their part. And they do have parking, on both the front and the back entrance is kind of nominally the convention space. If you park around the front, it'll take you an extra 30 seconds to walk into what's nominally the convention space, so it's not really a problem anyway. But it does give them that extra versatility, which is nice. So we got down on Friday, and generally speaking, I think we like the space, though it's interesting that there were a couple of rooms they weren't using this year that they were using last year. And I don't know if that was just because, again, this hotel's at least partially under renovation, so the rooms just weren't available, or if they decided they didn't need them and didn't want to pay extra for them. Because...
yeah, I think they had 2 RPG rooms last year. This time they had 1 and a couple tables in the hallway.
Yeah. For a total of, I think it was... nominally it was 10, but they bolted an extra 11th one in kind of a weird spot. Mm-hmm. Whereas last year, I think they had a few more because, again, they had that room and they had an extra 4 tables in there. But certainly by Sunday, they were not... certainly last year, by Sunday, they weren't using all of the space. We had effectively a private room last year for one of our games on Sunday. And we ended up with that again this year. But, this year, because of the weather disruption, it's hard to know, what the difference would have looked like without it. So yeah, this was actually a convention where we were running a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because we had a look at the schedule and like, okay, what do we feel like playing in? And we're like, well, it's not actually that much that's grabbing us.
Yeah, it was a lot of like war game type stuff and a few more like serious RPGs and things like that. And I do like serious RPGs, but a lot of them were very like combat focused and a lot of very grim dark stuff. And as you know, I've been sick. I'm still sick. Kind of didn't need that this weekend.
Yeah.
So
So like one of the things that was running was second edition Dark Heresy.
Yep.
I freely admit I would have enjoyed that. You wouldn't have. And if there'd been more options for that time slot, something you could go to when we could just split up for that time slot, that might have been fun, but I don't think there was anything that was grabbing us there.
Yeah, well, part of the problem, and this wound up being a problem all weekend generally, was also just like it was very unclear what was running at different time periods, because some people did cancel their events, but that's actually not that easy to do on tabletop, because you'd have to message somebody and have to take it off in a certain time frame.
Yep.
I think some other people also just assumed that the con was canceled at certain points, even though it wasn't, so it was very unclear at various points on the weekend what was running.
Yes.
Which is not, I don't think, anyone's fault. Like, this is just kind of a limitation of tabletop events and communication and how stuff is going to be in the storm. It's also possible that, like, some of the people who didn't make it were also without power and probably didn't want to use their limited power on their phones to be messaging about a convention when they had better stuff going on that they had to deal with. So.
Yeah, or like got stuck along the way. So yeah. And again, this is definitely a convention that normally attracts a lot of locals.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday, I think it was probably about as busy as last year.
Yeah.
Saturday was a little quieter than last year, and it definitely, like, the numbers of people definitely dropped off around lunchtime, which is when the snow started picking up.
Yeah.
And then Sunday
was less than 100 people.
Yeah,
like, Sunday was like 50 total.
Sunday was pretty quiet, which I think most of the people who were there on Sunday were people who were either in the hotel or close enough that they figured they could get away with it, like us.
Yeah, but I think the con did give the people who were staying overnight the space to just play additional games because they didn't really care that much, which was nice.
Yeah, that was good of them.
But yeah, they made it hard to like sign up for stuff, and there was some stuff that got added later, like Magical Kittens and Kids on Bikes, but I don't think a lot of those games wound up making just because they were added to the schedule so late.
Mm-hmm. Which again is always that, especially with a smaller gaming con, that's always a little bit of a risk, and again, especially at one that got this badly screwed over by the weather.
Mm-hmm.
Like I do want to clarify, I think the people running this con did the best job that they could have reasonably done this weekend.
Yeah, again, it really means a lot to me that you did not cancel the event, but rather trusted everyone to just make their own decision about whether it was personally safe for them to go to the event. Like, I really appreciate that. Because as an out-of-towner, this event still works for us, and it still works for a lot of people there.
Yeah.
And most of the convention runners were just staying at the on site, so I think they had the same philosophy we did of just like, well, we're going to be stuck here anyway.
Yep.
Might as well have the con. So I do appreciate that.
We do very much appreciate that. Like that was a good call on your guys' part. I know some stuff definitely got a bit like screwed over, and some stuff didn't quite work out the way everybody wanted, but for the most part, I think we still had fun.
Yeah. Also, there were some people complaining on Facebook about them moving the con to a different time of year to avoid this problem, which please don't do that.
Yeah, no.
They explained very clearly why, and I do get why, is that just for most of the other months, there's a lot of competitors with other types of cons in the area that do similar types of stuff, and you don't want to pull away that market share.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, this, I assume nonprofit. I haven't gone into it in detail, but I suspect it is.
Yeah. And again, this is a small gaming convention. Pretty much everybody who turns up to it is just kind of a massive nerd.
Yep.
And there's not that much on in January, in all honesty. Like, it's nice to have a convention like this that we can go to in late January.
Yeah. It makes sense to have a board game con in January because that's a very clearly inside event that a lot of people do in winter. And I get that you can't completely control the weather, but also, like, multiple people have said this is a storm that was pretty freak. It's not going to happen every year.
No.
And, like, this is just the reality of time periods, and you can't control it. And I do get that, like, winter weather is more likely than other stuff, but natural disasters can happen any time of year.
Yeah, like we could have had a hurricane in summer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how likely that is, but
For us, no, but like there are plenty of cons in Florida that have plenty of cons in summer, despite the fact that there's a risk of hurricanes. That's just something you deal with. And any con worth their salt, as we know, has disaster insurance.
Yep.
So
event insurance, disaster insurance, all of that jazz.
And the thing is, if they have that, and I assume they probably do.
Yep.
They could have actually probably made more money back had they chose to cancel the con, but they didn't, I think, just because they knew it would mean a lot to people.
Yeah. And again, I suspect there were people who were using it as a place to keep warm during the day.
Yeah.
Because I'm unclear how bad the power situation got in Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I suspect for some people it was problematic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so having that safe place to go probably was useful. Because again, as we said, most hotels have backup generators. You know, which means that if the power gets taken out, you can keep your phones charged. You can stay warm. You can stay safe. All of that jazz, which kind of matters at the moment.
Yep.
So, yeah. Should I talk about food before we do anything
Did
else?
you fully describe the con space? So you talked about there were tables in the hallway. There are two back RPG rooms. It's kind of has a staircase that goes up to kind of a second level. It has kind of an atrium area, then a small boardroom.
Yep.
That was being used to run blood on the clock tower for pretty much all of the weekend.
Yep. Yeah, the kind of atrium area up there was being used to run one game, and the boardroom was being used to run a second.
Yeah.
Which again, valid. They had a bunch.
Main kind of convention space that had the main tabletop games, board games, tournaments. I don't know how many tournaments actually happened this weekend. It was a bit unclear.
Yeah, I know that they were supposed to have a regionals Catan tournament.
Yeah.
That they ended up just turning into a non-regionals Catan tournament because I think they either didn't get the numbers they needed, or like whoever was meant to oversee it wasn't available, or something like. For whatever reason, that ended up changing. There were a few announcements throughout the weekend about various things getting shifted and changed, which again, they were pivoting and adapting on the fly to what was going on, and I respected that. Like they were using common sense, and they were going about it about as sensibly as one could expect.
Yeah.
So the other thing that they had at the convention is kind of almost right smack in the middle of the space. They had their concession stand.
Yeah. They also had vendors around the outside of the.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
And they also had a back room on the other side of the convention center that I think was doing like smaller board games, and I think those were Pathfinder and Starfinder was set up.
Yeah. The Pathfinder Starfinder Society were in that room all the way over there, which kind of over near the front entrance of the hotel, which kind of makes it the back part of the convention space. Again, stuff was fairly clearly labeled, I thought. Like it did not take us long to find our table, and hilariously, we were at the same table for almost the entire weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We were at RPG 10 for everything except my Sunday game, basically.
And I think it was just because they knew they were going to pack up those tables early. So, yeah, we were just RPG. Table 10 was basically our table. We ran everything but I think one game at that table. So.
Yep. 2 games technically, but that wasn't big. Yeah, we'll explain that when we get to Sunday. But yeah. So, what was I saying? Food. So they had their concession stand. Their concession stand is perfectly fine. Burgers, hot dogs, chicken tenders. Yeah. What can best be described as the usual stuff. Little overpriced. I think I got spoiled by Adam Con's prices last week, which were a little more reasonable. But hey, this weekend, very much appreciated.
Yeah. Plus, you also got to have free dinner and free breakfast most days at the hotel.
Yeah, at the hotel across the way, which meant I have not felt particularly starved this weekend.
Yeah.
I've probably eaten way too much bread. Not enough vegetables, but again.
For con food at a time when you can't really go out, I appreciate that places had this.
Yes, I fully agree. And again, only takes cash, but they do make it very clear, before you arrive, that the concession stand only takes cash, which means you should be turning up with some cash.
Yeah, the hotel also has a restaurant that it's very unclear when that restaurant is open.
Yeah, I would. So here's the thing: last year it wasn't open for this con. This year it was, I think, only open on Sunday evening, and I think they opened it because of the snowstorm.
Yeah.
I suspect they opened it specifically because they knew a bunch of people from the con were staying overnight, and they figured we'd better make sure these people get some food. So I think that was a conscious decision on their part, and if it was, good call, guys. Thank you. I think that was a hotel decision.
Yeah, we've gone to multiple cons here. It's very random when that hotel or restaurant is open, generally. I'm sure there's probably hours posted somewhere. I'm too lazy to look them up.
Yeah. And for the record, I've eaten there before. The food is pretty good. It's very overpriced, but it's pretty good. And again, it's one of those things. It depends. Do you want free food that's, kind of mid, aggressively fine? Or do you want, food that's pretty good but a bit overpriced. In all honesty, it largely depends on my mood. Like this weekend, I was just grateful to get something warm inside me. And the fact that the food at the brewery across the way was again buffet style, limited options, but it did at least change each night. Like the breakfast stuff was consistent, but the evening stuff did change each night.
Yeah.
And that was pretty useful. So so what time did we get there? Like 1-ish?
Yeah, I think we got there at 1-ish. My game was running at 2, so that's when we first got there because the first game I was running was Fiasco.
Yep.
Parking, smaller hotel, was free. That's nice.
Yep. Always nice.
I will say, because we did run a lot of games this weekend, we didn't get any badge reimbursement at all, despite running quite a lot of programming.
Yes.
We're pretty much the only ones who were doing TTRPGs on Sunday at all.
Yeah.
Just we happened to be staying there.
Yeah. Like, we submitted 4 events each. All 4 of yours got accepted. One of mine did not. And I'll talk about it a little more when we get to that time slot. But that did mean between us we were running 7 things.
Yeah.
And no badge reimbursement for that, which I get, but
it's a smaller con, and like TTRPG people are different than board game people, and if you want to get tickets for TTRPGs, I do think like reimbursing some people who are running them is probably a good thing, because our tables were full all weekend.
Yep.
For the most part.
Yep. And Sunday notwithstanding.
Even Sunday, we managed to do something random. It's kind of cool. So.
We did.
So some type of badge reimbursement I feel like would be nice, at least a little bit, because there's not that many people who run TTRPGs, and it'd be nice to give them at least a little bit of perk for that, I think.
Yes. Because there's kind of a difference between running a TTRPG and running just a board game. Insofar as if you're running a board game, you mostly just turn up with a board game and you go.
Explain the rules.
And you explain the rules and you go. Whereas with TTRPGs, you usually have to like print character sheets and do prep work and all of that kind of jazz. Which, again, granted, most of us will do what I do and abuse the work printer to, print off the character sheets, but.
But it's involved. You have to know the rules. A lot of times you have to write your own story, and even if you're not writing your own story, like you have to really understand the module that you're building, and it does actually. It takes a significant amount of work.
Yep.
Prep.
Yeah, it does. And again, some of the stuff we were running this weekend was lighter and didn't require that level of, of prep work, but. Some of it did.
So we got to the con about 1.
Yep.
We got in. What was I wearing that day?
Your druid dress.
Yes, I was wearing my druid dress, which has this cute train in the back. I figured we might as well get that one out of the way before the snow started.
Yep.
But it was, very like D&D type theme, so I like that one.
Yep. You were also wearing your antlers.
Yep.
Again, druid.
Yeah, you were also wearing your kind of antlers. Okay.
Yep. Which again. That's pretty easy for me. I just throw on my cape, chuck on the antlers on top of my head, and job done. It keeps that simple, which is nice. So we got in registration and badge pickup. Very very easy. Went up to the front. They asked our names, gave them. They found our badges. They handed them over. Job done. Here's a lanyard.
Yep.
And again, this one. Like most board game cons, there wasn't any kind of printed schedule for this. You just had to check tabletop events. But there's kind of no practical way to print a schedule for an event like this just because there's so much going on.
But they did have all the tables labeled.
They did, which I appreciated. Because, quite often with board game cons, they'll say, like, you're going to be in room B, table 3. And you'll go to room B, and then none of the tables in there are labeled.
Yep.
Like, you're at one of them, but they don't actually bother saying which specific one it is, which can lead to some confusion.
And I will say, when they label, like, the RPG tables, people will do what all good RPGs do, which is move the table labels around to a table they actually want to be at that's quieter, but that's fine.
That's fine.
Like, that's just going to happen.
Yeah. So we were at 10, which was kind of just at the base of the staircase.
Yep.
In the hall, because, again, like, for whatever reason, they weren't using the room that was just over next to that space.
This event also, I want to emphasize, didn't do like paper tickets. So sometimes when you do tabletop events, you get tickets for games. Sign up in advance. We explain that in a lot of episodes with these types of events. Some of them do paper tickets, like Origins and Gen Con.
Yep.
And a couple of the smaller ones also do paper tickets. This one does not, which is fine.
That's
I don't
fine.
really think it's necessary. They don't collect them either.
No.
So.
Because again, like some of the bigger cons like to know like how many people turned up to an event so they could do like statistical analysis and figure out like what events are people actually going to and all of that jazz. And like Gen Con does have a badge reimbursement purposes. Like if not enough people turn up to your events, they actively won't reimburse your badge.
Even if people have signed up for them, which is ridiculous.
Which is a dick move, Gen Con.
Yeah. If people have signed up and aren't going to your table, they've already paid Gen Con to have the ticket, so what does it matter?
But yeah. So, So the first game was Fiasco. So we got there, we got set up, and again, we had brought Emma with us to this con, so she was with us all weekend.
Because we're in a hotel and we didn't like hotels and we didn't want her barking and disturbing neighbors, we brought her with us to all 3 days.
All 3 days, and she was not the only dog that we saw there this weekend. There were about 4 or 5 others.
Yeah, we did clarify that, or we explained it when we were picking up badges to the person, and they were like, you're fine, there's multiple dogs here this weekend for the same reason of just there's a snowstorm and people didn't want to leave their dogs at home, which valid.
Valid, much appreciated that. So yeah.
She was definitely the star of the con, though.
Well, she's very cute.
She is.
So yeah. First game was Fiasco. Since you were running this one, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, and I will warn you, just in terms of review, obviously it's a bit harder for us to review stuff we ran, so we'll do our best with it, but it's not going to be like the same level of like critique we give other people. And that's not because we're being nice to ourselves, it's just kind of, it's hard to step outside yourself and actually know how the experience is like for other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, Fiasco is a GM-less, we were commenting about this on the table, it's sometimes classified as a board game and it's sometimes classified as an RPG. And I'm never, whenever I do it, I'm not really sure what to classify it as. I typically classify it as an RPG, because I think it's more of an RPG than a board game.
It feels more of an, yes, you are, playing cards and doing kind of slightly board gamey stuff, but 95% of the actual playing of the game is just improv.
Yep.
Which means that, I think RPG is the more accurate of the two descriptors.
Yeah.
It does ride the line a little bit, but I think it's the more accurate.
Yeah, it's an RPG that's designed to be like the Coen Brothers movie, basically, or a board game / RPG, where you create characters based on prompts. Those characters have connections that cards will tell you what those connections are, in terms of what the relationships are, and then you basically have scenes with different characters to try to kind of create a prompt. And it is improv comedy, basically, so the prompt is meant to be similar to the style of a Coen Brothers movie, where stuff just gets more and more ridiculous and wrong.
Yeah.
And they have 3 scenarios in the main box. At this point, now that we've tried all the scenarios, I'm probably going to buy the additional scenarios because they seem fun.
Yep.
But they wanted to do a fantasy-themed scenario this time, so they're D&D themed as opposed to the more modern world-themed ones we'd already tried.
Yeah, because the other 2 we've tried are a suburbia-themed one and a mall-themed one. Whereas this one is the fantasy-themed one.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was interesting. I'm glad we tried it.
Yeah.
I do agree with you that I think it's the weakest of the decks, just in terms of that one definitely encourages people to try and think a bit more in D&D terms.
Yeah.
Whereas the other 2, because they're just modern day setting, people were actively trying not to overpower their character by doing too much stupid magical stuff. And here's the thing, that doesn't matter. You should be doing stupid magical stuff if you're playing the that deck.
Yeah. So yeah, it was one of those things where you can break the game kind of at any time if you have magic, and I think you have to have a little bit more improv experience to be able to mitigate that such that you don't break the game.
Yes.
And we definitely had a couple people at the table who did a fantastic job, but they did say that it was their first time doing improv stuff.
Yes.
They haven't done it before, and they did a great job. I would not have predicted it was their first time.
Oh yeah.
Based on that, but it was a table that I think was a little bit more timid, and it took them a moment to kind of find their groove. But I do think we got them. We had some good and fun moments, generally.
I would agree. Yeah. Again, there are certainly people who we have met in the past at other conventions who I think would be amazing at this game.
Yes.
Just because they've got really good improv skills. Particularly there's a couple who are really good at character work, who I think would kick ass at this.
Yeah.
That's not in any way to say our table was bad.
They were not.
They were not. They were good.
Very good. But it is one of those things where if it's your first time doing it, obviously it's not going to be your best time doing it. And I honestly hope all those people continue playing that game and continue to do good. But it was it was a cute game to start the con. I gave it a 2-hour time slot, and I think it was about the right time slot for it.
I think so.
It's also what's recommended in the box, so.
Yeah, again, I think a 2-hour time slot is perfectly reasonable for it, because I think it generally runs to about an hour 30, hour 45. Again, depending on size of table and all of that jazz. I know that nominally in the second act, everybody's meant to get another 2 scenes, I've not played a game where that's happened purely
Yeah.
because like your story somewhere in Act 2 tends to just like reach a natural conclusion, and pushing beyond that just for the sake of the mechanics of everybody having two scenes doesn't feel necessary.
Yeah. And this is another thing with this game that I actually think might be a good thing, is just the more you play it generally throughout the hour, the mechanics kind of go away a little bit. It also has that weird mechanic where like you can either start a scene where you choose who's in your scene, or you can choose the outcome, whether or not the outcome's positive or negative. People never choose the freaking outcome. I don't even know why that's a mechanic.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I think it's just because if no one has any ideas, then maybe, or if they're very, very new to improv, or if they're young, because this is designed to be played with different age groups.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's what that mechanic is for a little bit, so other people can help build it.
Yeah,
but
that makes a certain amount of sense.
Not a lot of people choose to just resolve their scenes.
Yeah.
But if you want, you can just metagame it so that you have entirely positive outcomes the entire game if you want.
You can, but the one thing that I realized reading the rulebook this time, the more positive outcomes you have for individual scenes, the more negative your ending is. Like they're the opposite way round to the way you think they are.
Yeah.
Which I interesting choice.
Yeah, at the end of the game, you get an outcome card about what happens to your character in the epilogue type of stuff. Sometimes they make sense. Sometimes, based on the story, they really kind of just don't make sense.
Yeah, they're a bit weird. Like, they sort of work as a concept, but...
It's mostly an excuse to get people to just do a 2-hour improv at a table, which I like.
Yep.
And I am interested to try new decks to kind of see how it works. But it's... Sometimes I just want a pure improv experience that's just pure role play, and this is a very good one, I think. Because it's entry-level based, anyone can do it, works with a table of people, and it's fun.
Yep, I would agree.
And I've had fun every time I've run it, so...
Yeah.
How did you find it as a player?
I enjoyed it. I will say that I do think that's probably my least favorite of the three decks. But you immediately turning me into a dragon, who's trying to transform back into a... Well, we got really inconsistent about whether it was supposed to be an elf, a tiefling, or something else.
Yeah.
But I think that's at least in part because that was funny.
Yeah. Well, I figured if I turned you into a dragon immediately, because when we start the game, we always do a scene with each other, just because we know each other and also know how to play, and that gets the players warmed up.
Yep.
I figured turning you into a dragon would just be a great plot point that everyone can kind of grip onto, which I think worked.
Pretty much happened, yeah. And that is basically how that ended up going.
We also had a toad that may have been somebody's uncle or aunt.
Possibly. It was unclear.
Yep.
Which was kind of the joke.
Yep.
So yeah. But no, I had fun with it. And again, like, I don't want to say the deck is bad. I think it sets the wrong tonal expectations for the table.
Yeah.
Is probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I do feel like modern settings are a little bit easier just to give players an idea of, like, because in a modern setting, you know what the, like, rails are and what you can do, which is just what a normal person would be able to do.
Yep.
Which is a lot easier to, I think, imagine than a fantasy setting where most people in fantasy settings know what they can do based off very specific rule sets that D&D tell you.
Yes.
Where in this campaign, you kind of don't have that. Like, the magic ritual we were trying to do, I think everyone was a bit confused as to how that was going to work because there was no rolling mechanic.
Yep.
So they just were like, this happens then.
I was like, cool. Because again, it's improv. You yes and the entire time. Like, the other guy can say the dumbest stuff possible, and you just go, yes, brilliant, now. And, you work with it, and that's kind of the rule of improv comedy. Like, it works. Don't harsh somebody else's idea. Just roll it into whatever you're doing next. But yeah, again, perfectly fun, perfectly fine. I had fun with it. Next up was Pugmire.
Pugmire, Quest for the Shiny Ball.
The Quest for the Shiny Ball.
This was your game.
This was my game.
And I finally got to play it.
Yes. Yeah, like... So I originally wrote this for a Catacon, not last year, the year before. And you were supposed to play in that, and then you decided, like, a week before that you wanted to play something else instead.
Yep.
No
sarcasm there, babe.
Yeah, no, not at all. And then I ran it again at Origins this year, and you also decided you were going to play something else instead.
Well, when we submitted games, we didn't know that our friend Betty, or Calzone Betty, was coming with us to the con, and since they were, I wanted to spend a little bit more time with them and a little bit less time with that. Plus, getting 2 tickets for games is hard.
Yep.
And also, like, your game filled.
Yeah,
so...
it did. But yeah, so you finally got to play in this particular adventure.
Yep.
Pugmire, if you've not heard of it, is a slightly rules lighter version of something like D&D. It's again, a 20-sided dice-based game, and generally speaking, it's a little more young person friendly, at least in part because the theming is you're all a bunch of anthropomorphic dogs.
And I do think of the 2 dog games I have now played, I do prefer Pugmire to the one we tried last week, Dogs of Chernobyl. And I do like Polymorph's stuff. I just don't think that that's quite the right system for what they were trying to do with that one.
Yeah, it feels like the tone of that one's a bit iffy.
Yeah.
So Pugmire basically,
it's 5e light, but with dogs.
Yeah, basically. The broad overarching setting is that in the distant future, man has mysteriously vanished, leaving behind dogs and cats and a bunch of other animals who have all evolved to be anthropomorphic and humanoid, but still very much like dogs and cats and all of that jazz. And they've created a new civilization. They worship man as their deities, and they are all trying to live up to man's ancient lesson and be good dogs. So everybody plays one of a bunch of different character classes, which again all follow the classic D&D archetype. So there's the Guardian, which is basically the fighter, the Ratter, which is the kind of rogue, and so on and so forth. As a system to teach younger players the rules of something like a D&D style game, it's a perfectly fine system. And the theming itself is just kind of adorable. What's not to love about playing anthropomorphic dogs?
Plus, there's a lot of Easter eggs you can work in about knowledge that you would have as a human that the dogs wouldn't have, which is very fun when you get the jokes and references.
Yeah, like in this particular adventure, you are tasked by the Church of Man to recover a holy relic, which is it's the shiny ball of destiny, which is a sphere about a foot across. That's covered in reflective stuff, so that when it hangs by a cord and spins, it casts light upon the walls in patterns that will somehow help the dogs understand man's great message, such that they may one day ascend to follow them. Like, most players tend to work out pretty early what the shiny ball of destiny is, and there's a few jokes scattered throughout the adventure that relate to that. But again, in universe, it's a serious religious artifact. Out of universe, it's a joke. And again, that's pretty much the tone of Pugmire. Which, for the most part, I think works.
Yeah.
It's a fun little game. Our players for this, or my players technically, because I was running this one, were actually a family. So it was you and then 2 parents and two kids.
Yep.
Which did mean that I was a bit worried the game wasn't going to run, because we got to about 2 or 3 minutes past and you were the only one who was there. I was like, okay, maybe none of my players are showing up. Oh well. And then all 4 of them turned up together.
Yep.
Which, fine. Not actually a problem, just was a bit worried there for a moment. But yeah, again, Pugmire is relatively simple, and I think they had fun with it.
I think so.
It didn't end up going to time.
It was quite a bit under time, actually.
Yeah, because I always put this one in for a 4-hour slot, because 1, there's a bunch of red herrings that people can get distracted by.
Yeah.
2, there is a spot where there can be combat, or you can bypass the combat depending on the information you've acquired up to that point. And if you bypass the combat, obviously that takes talking your way through takes a lot less time than rolling all of the combat dice. So I think this one ended up going for about 2 hours out of its 4-hour time slot. Yeah, which I felt a little guilty about. But
I don't think the kids' attention spans would have lasted that long, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
And these were clearly children who I think were fairly new to RPGs. Like, they definitely had some experience.
Yeah.
But there was, I think, based on the vibes I got, I think the dad, plays RPGs and is trying to get the kids into them. The mom was mostly there to be supportive, and yeah. It's also kind of was a bit awkward for me, just because, again, it's kind of hard to play a game with just a family. So I was mostly there trying to, encourage them to do stuff.
Yeah. Which, again, I think they had fun.
Yeah. They had fun, and I do think, particularly because of the age of the kids, which I think is, preteen, early teen, somewhere around there.
Yep. I think I set the game as 8+.
Yeah. The age of the kids are the exact right age to, get the Pugmire jokes and really enjoy them, of, the stuff that the dogs don't know. I think they enjoyed those elements of it a lot.
Yeah, and the parents definitely, when the puppy choir starts singing the holy hymn at the end.
Yep.
That slayed the parents. That was great. The dad in particular, realized what song the puppy choir was singing. It was just, killing himself laughing.
Yep.
So. again, I think they had fun. Again, they were just a little more point and click than I generally prefer. But again,
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of role play. Like the dad, I think, knew how to role play. I think the mom was still kind of trying to learn. The kids kind of went in and out of it a little bit. So,
Yeah.
and I was trying a little bit, but it's a little again. It's hard with a family you don't know.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, but hopefully they had fun. Hopefully they
Well, they had
enjoyed
fun,
it.
and not all games like need to be very, very role play heavy.
Yep.
And like I do think you could add a couple more things to this adventure to kind of make it a little bit more meaty if people are like blowing through stuff, which I pointed out to you a little bit
Yeah,
afterwards.
you did. I think I do need to like go back in and add a couple of like padding spots that if it's going a bit too quick, you know, that I can use to stretch it out a little.
Yeah.
Which again, like that's always the issue with because again, like in one game of this that I played, the party took like an hour chasing a complete red herring, and it was fun. Whereas this one, they kind of followed the obvious path through.
Yep. And it's also just more fun when I think you have RP in this game. But again, it's new family. Like I think they did well for like the group that we had, and they seem to like it. So
They did. You know, and it did mean that Emma, who is like one of the suggestions in the rulebook of Hugmire is that you base the NPCs on dogs you know.
yeah,
So Emma is
got to be at the table for her NPC.
yeah, because Emma is the high priestess of the Church of Man.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the core rulebook probably has somebody in that role, but screw that, it's Emma. Because again, I freely admit I use the very basic setup of Pugmire, the actual like lore. I just adapt and change on the fly myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because especially for con games, if I want to like say that Pugmire has docs, I've not actually checked the book to know if they do or not. But you know, it makes sense for the story I'm telling, so it does. Which again, that's just how GMing is, you know, should work in that context. Like, you know, obviously, if you're playing a game that's in a like specific universe and they have very specific rules, like don't break them. Yeah, but if it's stuff like that, then you know that's fine. Fair. So at that point, since we had a little bit of time to kill, we figured it was a good opportunity to drive across the street and get checked into our hotel room.
Yep. Fairly easy process. We paid a little bit extra to, I think, get a hotel on one of the higher floors. We're at the top floor.
Yep, we're on the top floor. Specifically, we knew that just to fulfill our needs, we needed one of their quote-unquote suites.
Yep.
Which had like a sort of living room and a bedroom as like two separate rooms that, you know, just had a door between them. Which, you know, they worked fine.
Yeah. And it would have, I think, been a little bit easier if Emma was not here, just because she really does not like hotels.
Yeah, there's just a lot of noise that freaks her out. Well, that was spectacular.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yep.
So now coming off a car.
Yep. But yeah, but you know, for the most part, she handled it well. Yeah.
And the room was fine for what it was, and again, with all the perks and stuff like that, I think it wound up being fairly similar. We definitely spent less on food this weekend than we otherwise would have. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we are genuinely contemplating doing it again for Bourbon City. We will see.
Wow.
What?
Oh, just the truck over there. It's like covered in snow.
Oh, wow.
We'll see, but it was adequate. The main, I think, inconvenience is just obviously getting stuff in and out of the car takes a bit longer.
Yeah, because you've got to go, like, if you're taking the lift up and down multiple floors, it's a slower process.
Yeah. But I will say the hotel kind of became like its own secondary event, just because the lobby around the like sort of restaurant area was packed throughout the entire weekend with just people who were staying over and doing their own celebrations. So
yeah, it certainly was on Friday.
Yeah, so we just got to know kind of some people over the course of the weekend that were there.
Yep.
Including one guy who was drunk and kept asking if I was a different person every time I changed my wig.
Again, I don't know how drunk he actually was.
He was mostly joking about it, but
yeah. Yeah, because he was just like, okay, does your hair keep changing color, or am I drunker than I think I am? Yeah, like, no, keep changing. I'm like, okay, good. But yeah. So yeah, we got checked in. Again, relatively simple process. I asked them at that point, like, if, given the, you know, the weather forecast, we ended up having to extend the stay, would that be a problem? And they just said, nope, just come down and talk to us about it. And I said, great. Because some hotels get weird about that. Like, they'll actively want to, like, check out of the room and then check in again or move to a different room. This one was just like, no. If you need to extend your stay, just come down and talk to us. Like, we'll need to like check your ID again, but that's fine. So yeah. And the other warning they gave me was if we'd booked through a third-party app, you know, like Expedia or one of those, like then it would have been an issue. But because we just booked
through the
direct through the
website.
website, then it was fine.
Yeah.
So, yep. So, we did that. I ate. And again, the food at that place is perfectly fine. But it's rolled into the price of your hotel room, and in all honesty, I have no complaints about that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a good bargain.
Yeah.
So at that point, we headed back over. It was starting to snow at that point, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
If memory serves. And again, like, the drive is like 2 minutes.
Yep.
The walk is about 5 to 10, depending on which route you have to take. So we went back over, and the next game we were running was It Came from the Late Show. Now, I think officially, according to the schedule, this was my game.
Yeah.
And I did end up running it. We debated a little bit before it started whether you would run or I would run.
Yeah.
Because this is one that, like, either of us can run. It's not.
Well, I could tell before we started we had a fantastic table for this. So
Yeah,
I was
we
just
did.
like... And I decided, if we have a fantastic table, me as a player is actually just going to throw more chaos into this, which it did.
It did.
By a lot.
You decided to play. Your character was a goat.
Yeah, named the goat.
Yep.
Also Bleatnik.
Yeah, named Bleatnik.
Yeah, as a reminder, if you're one of those people who's going to give you a business charge, we don't say people's names on this podcast just out of respect for privacy, but you guys were awesome, all of you.
Like, everybody at that table, like, they came to play and they played.
Yeah.
The basic rules and setup of It Came from the Late Show is everybody is playing an actor, and that actor has been stuck in a terrible, terrible, terrible movie. Have fun. So you decide as a table what you give your actor a bit of life, a bit of backstory. You give them some stats, and the thing is, you're all bad actors, which means you're probably going to fail at most of the stuff you try to do. Like, it's a D100 system. So rolling a 100-sided dice, or more likely 2d10s. And you're trying to roll below whatever number your score is. And given that you start with 4d10 in a stat, unless you put a lot of points into a given skill, statistically speaking, even if you roll stupid hot on that first roll to determine your base stat line, you're going to be succeeding at most 40% of the time.
Weirdly, the goat was the best of the die.
Yeah, you kept headbutting people, and the
Yeah.
dice gods decided that was funny.
Yep.
So yeah, you did quite well on that. But yeah. So we ended up making Space Goat the movie.
Yeah.
Because after you've created your actors, you then decide like on the genre of movie, and like as a table, you start like creating the very broad outline. And then the person running it, who in this case was me, is the director. And the director's job is to basically tell you what scenes you're doing next, and you just improv all of that. And depending on depending on how the game's going, the director can like pause the scene and make modifications. Or one of the things I added in between scenes was that we're now sponsored by Coca-Cola, so you need to like work in a Coca-Cola sponsorship into every scene. And generally speaking, everybody like has fun with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the plot barely made sense. The character arcs were nonsense.
Yep.
But everybody was laughing their asses off. So it went pretty much the way Late Show is supposed to go.
We had a great job of people throwing plot points to different characters, or if character had been quiet for a while. Everyone did a great job of like doing that role of like, oh, let's put you in this scene and stuff like that, which I thought was really good.
Yeah, that was good. Like it's always nice to see that kind of like, again, it's a game of collaborative storytelling.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of thing you like to see and want to see.
Yeah. By the way, even though it was called Space Goat and I was the goat, I was not playing the goat in Space Goat.
Yeah, the goat was being played by, what was it? His character name was something like, Jonathan Statham or something like that, who's meant to be Jason Statham's like much less famous brother.
Yeah.
Which is always a great gag anytime you do it. But yeah, he was full method actor as the goat.
Yep.
So again, just to give you an indication of how dumb this game gets almost immediately.
Yep. And this was also one of those tables where the game was slotted for 2 hours, which was about right. I think we played for an hour and 15 minutes, and then everyone just hung around the table for an extra 45 minutes just talking, which was awesome. Yeah.
Like, again, generally speaking, with that game, you're going to come to a natural conclusion of your movie at somewhere around the hour and a half mark.
Yeah.
Because, like, you can only sustain that level of silly for so long.
Well, like, there's only so, like, much the plot plot barely works to begin with, and at some point it just falls apart completely.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also supposed to be. You know, and then at the end you do your like 80s style wrap up montage explaining like what happened to all the performers and the director.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
one of my favorites was just like, and now this will be the epic monologue because I was the goat's like trainer. This doesn't. It makes about as much sense as it sounds like it makes.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, you've rescued the goat. Now you will have a heartfelt monologue about how you feel about each other. You knew exactly what you were setting up, didn't you?
I was like 80% sure you were about to do what I thought you were about to do.
Which was
and scene. Perfect. No notes. So yeah, that gives you an indication of just how dumb this game is in all the best possible ways.
Yeah. It was great. The table was great. We wound up, people liked this game so much that they signed up for some of our other games, which was awesome.
Yeah, that meant a lot to us.
Yeah. And like the people playing this were awesome and wanted to get the game too.
Yeah.
And this game was gifted to us. It's a free game, and it was gifted to us because we played it at this con last year.
Yep.
And we decided to honor it at this con by running it this year because we didn't see it on the schedule.
Yep.
And like gifted, it's a free PDF that we were sent.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I think he sent us the PDF. I genuinely don't remember, but like again, everything you actually need to play it, especially at the con level, is on one piece of paper.
Yeah. There are actually level up mechanics if you want your actors to actually like get better and be involved in more B movies. Which for the goat I probably wouldn't do. For like my like Shirley Temple child star role, I probably would like put that one in a campaign.
Yep.
Because part of the fun of this is thinking about what types of people wind up in B movies. Like a person we played this with previously decided they were just going to be a NASCAR driver who was trying to break into film.
Yep.
So they put all their stats in driving.
Yep. Had no acting skills at all.
Yep.
Which, to be fair, was about the same level of acting ability as the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that just gives you an indication of like how silly and stupid and fun it can be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like again, the first time we played it, your character concept was a former child star who's now in her 30s, but is stuck playing children.
Mm-hmm.
So your actor character was in her 30s, and yet the character she was playing in the terrible movie was a child.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I would bring her back if we ever did a campaign of it. I probably will bring her back for another version of this because we're definitely going to run this again at some point.
Yeah.
It's such a fun game.
And again, this is one that doesn't require any pre-prep and setup, just because again, like it's more improv comedy that lives and dies by the quality of the table, and we had an excellent table for this weekend. Thank you guys. I have no idea if you will find out about this podcast because I can't remember if I gave any of you.
You did give them business cards, but also I don't expect anyone to remember 3 days from now what they got. So I am hoping to see about that group at another con. This was two, I think, a group of friends and a group of. I didn't actually know what their status was, so I'm not going to assume, but friends. So
yeah. A male identifying person and a female identifying person. That's about as specific as I'm comfortable getting.
Yeah.
Because we did ask them their pronouns.
Yep.
But yeah. But no, so yeah, that was Late Show.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, we headed back to our hotel across the way.
Yep.
That was when the roads were starting to get a little finicky, but still not like bad. Mm-hmm. So I was able to get across without any real problems. So went to sleep. You ate. Did our evening routine stuff, and then got up the next morning at 8ish.
Yeah.
Yep. And then headed back across the way.
Yep. Well, first we stopped at the grocery store because I burnt like my pizza bagels the night before that I was eating, so we had to get more.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there was a grocery store that's also within walking distance. Again, this hotel, if you were just staying in one of these hotels nearby, actually had pretty much everything you needed to weather a storm, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, we also stopped up and fueled up the car just because it was going to get cold enough that we're a little concerned. Because again, like we'd driven down from Ohio, so we used a decent percentage of the tank of petrol. And if you have too little petrol in your car, it can freeze.
Yeah. It's
not likely to, but we were erring on the side of caution. So we fueled up the car at that point. And then headed into the hotel. Again, Emma came with us. And what was the first? Oh, yeah.
Good Society.
Good Society.
So this was interesting because 2 people, I was checking tabletop events, 2 people dropped the night before, which again, I expected with the storm, there's going to be some communication with this. I'm happy they at least returned the tickets.
Yep.
But the 2 people we were playing with last night, the possible couple, possible friends, didn't ask.
Didn't ask.
Signed up.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Because, yeah, they were supposed to be playing something at 10 that got cancelled, and there was a lot of that going around this weekend. Like, again, for the record, if you couldn't make it to this event because you were, snowed in, valid. Like, we do not blame you for anything. Like, or even if you just looked at the weather and was like, I don't want to get stuck snowed in Louisville, also valid.
And yeah, Good Society runs with 3, which is what we would have had, because this is another GM-less game where I facilitate, and it says in the book that either the GM can facilitate or actually play a character. I'd always knew I was going to play a character because it's fun.
Yeah.
But 5 is, I think, the perfect number for this game.
Yes.
And yeah, this was a really good table.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot, at least. So.
Yeah, I had fun.
So yeah, Good Society is what it sounds like. Well, sort of. It's a Regency-themed GM-less RPG where you're all playing characters in a Regency era.
Yep, very Jane Austen coded.
Very Jane Austen coded. There's no dice. How it works is basically you have favors, and those favors, you can ask a player to do something, and the player can choose to do that thing or not. So you can ask a player to, like, fall in love with a certain character, and if the player accepts the token, they fall in love, and they get that advantage going forward to get another player to do something, or they cannot do it.
Yep.
And a lot of it is also just players' own ideas and stuff like that. So.
Yep. And the other element is that there's a second type of token, so we were just using like red and green crystals, like little resin crystals, I should say, to represent them. And if you use the other one, then when you throw it at somebody, they have to give like an emotional monologue to camera explaining how they feel in that moment. The first time we played this game's rule set, it had actually been converted by somebody to be a Bachelor-themed RPG, as in like The Bachelor, which meant that anytime one of those tokens got thrown at us, we were basically like smash cutting to the confessional booth after the thing, to like get everybody's sense of how they really felt about that. So that those mechanics actually translated over surprisingly well.
Yeah.
And yeah, like having the ability to like make certain things happen is very, very like fun and useful.
Yeah, it's fun and useful, and still keeps, because this is a romance-based game. There's going to be romance in it. It keeps the consent there, basically, because you can always ask, and the person can always say no if they're not comfortable doing something.
Yeah. So similar to a Powered by the Apocalypse game, this has effectively playbooks, which are the characters.
It's actually a very involved system.
Yeah.
Like, there's no dice rolling, but there's a lot of backstory about like how to develop your character, what your character might want in a given society.
Yep.
There's letter writing, which we didn't wind up doing, mostly because we were distracted by con announcements during that phase, and I forgot to do it, but it's fine.
Yeah. So I played the character of Ernest Bunbury.
Yep.
Bonus points to anybody who recognizes those references.
It's not even that obscure.
I'm not even slightly claiming it is. Who was the what's the official role title? Like the it's not the moocher, but you know what I mean. Like, it's the slightly down on their luck, person who's having to like stay with a relative or a friend who is willing to support them in temporarily.
Yeah. I played the heiress, which is normally what I play in this game.
Yep.
Weirdly, the roles I like to play, I find don't get to tend to be chosen by other players a lot for whatever reason. But you know, maybe I'm just like, I've got my own style, I guess.
Yep.
We had somebody who was like a person trying to marry off their daughter. We had somebody who was a newcomer who had just come back to town after getting college educated.
Yep.
We had somebody who was like a pot stirrer and meddler. So yeah, it was a very fun table.
It was.
And the thing about Good Society is you also get a side character to play that it has some connection to the main character in some way.
Yeah, we had a lot of aunts drifting around that table.
Well, there were only 2 ants.
Yeah, it did get a little confusing who was whose aunt, especially given that one of the aunts was my character's mother.
Yep.
Because we decided that the only other male coded person on the table and I were cousins.
Yep.
Which meant that because he had a domineering aunt and I'd written some stuff in my backstory about rubbish, slightly crappy parents. Like it was like, okay, so your aunt must be my mother then.
Yep.
Yes, okay. So we definitely had fun with it.
We did.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about it from the GM's perspective?
Yeah. So, and you have two main characters that you tend to play, and a side character. You got to be my overbearing father, which I think you had a blast with. Partially because you were the only one at the table who could be that mean to me in character.
Yep.
So,
oh yeah,
a lot of fun.
Like again, basically every time you tried to talk to him, I was just like, "Not now, daughter."
Yeah. You do look playing a-holes sometimes.
That's fun.
Villains are fun to play.
They are. And again, like it's one of those things. Like I would have been a bit uncomfortable doing that bit with somebody else.
Yeah.
At least until I was sure I wasn't like, because again, this is more improv to RPGing to all intents and purposes. So to a certain extent, you want to yes and.
Mm-hmm.
So just saying, "Not now, daughter," kind of harshes the buzz. Like I knew you could roll with it and do a good job with it.
Yeah.
Whereas knowing that about new players is always a bit trickier.
Yeah.
Like that's not to say they couldn't, but I probably wouldn't have done the same tactic with them as I did with you. Are those supposed to be at that angle?
No, they're definitely not.
Cool.
Broken thing, don't worry about it.
Yeah, just it's off the side of the highway, so it's not like dangerous or anything. But yeah.
So yeah, from a GM's perspective, it is interesting. There's a lot of setup that goes into this game. It is very, very involved, but I do feel like it helps people who are first-time RP or people who do this type of RPG to kind of get into character and get comfortable with it and certain roles and archetypes. Also, every single time I've seen it done, because I've played it a couple times, people have run it slightly differently in terms of what elements they choose to include and which elements they don't choose to include. Like, some will include the letter writing stuff, some won't. Some will include the influence token, some won't.
Yep.
I just kind of made my own calls with stuff like that.
Yeah, I accidentally left the cards at home because it does include cards.
Yep.
And relationship cards are some of the cards that are in that deck. We didn't use those at all. We just like talk to each other to establish relationships.
Yeah. Well, it does recommend you do that a lot of the time if you have characters or stuff like that you want to establish. Because the secondary characters are all established by one of the main characters, where your main character will have a side character that they like know and can confide in, and that character is played by another player.
Yes.
That character is considered less important, but you still need more than the kind of the main characters for a society like this to work. It's designed to make it feel like a full town as opposed to just 5 people.
Yeah. So for example, my character, like had a bunch of the reason that he'd been like kind of slightly cut off by his parents, was having to like, do the Jane Austen equivalent of couch surfing. Was purely that like he had this golden child older brother, who got everything and he got like the scraps and the leftovers. So obviously I had to make the golden child older brother the like, my supporting character, because it had to be like there was no other logical person it could be. And again, the person across the table was like, "Oh, cool, I'll take that." I was like, "Cool, there you go." And it does occasionally lead to some confusion if like both characters that one player is playing are in a scene together, because you end up either not 100% sure which character you're talking to.
Yeah.
There was a moment when I thought the person across the way had just like canonically killed our father.
Yeah.
Insofar as like, father tragically passed away, a few years ago, and my character was like, "Wait, what? When did that happen? You didn't even tell me." And then I realized that they were,
they were talking about a different character.
Yeah.
So there's some confusion with that. I will also say, as a facilitator with that many characters involved, it is hard for me to also keep track. I wrote down everything, so I had some idea. The ands still got a bit confusing.
Yeah.
But in general, it was pretty fun. And as facilitator, you can also like make people do stuff and give them more tokens, which is also a lot of fun to run. But it's very involved. It had a 4-hour time slot. We did have to rush it a bit because I think the two of them got to live for a 3-hour game and they didn't realize it was a 4-hour time slot because they signed up late, which was fine. But I think we easily could have gone to 3.5.
I think we could have comfortably gone to 3.5. It probably wouldn't have necessarily run the entire 4 hours. But as we've said before, like at a convention like this, you're pretty much always looking at hour-long time blocks.
Yep.
And I would rather have a game run for 3:15 in a 4-hour time slot than a game be given a 3-hour time slot and you have to rush the ending.
Yeah.
And we did end up rushing the ending just a little bit, because again, like 2 of the players had a 1 o'clock conflict.
Yeah. But it was cool.
Yeah.
Like, rushing the ending worked a little bit. Again, if we had an additional 30 minutes, I think it would be fun. But I really like this group. It's probably my favorite of the times I've played it. I mean, the Bachelor one I'm not counting because that's like just a different game entirely. But I had a lot of fun with this. I know what you thought about it.
I had a lot of fun too. Like again, I'm not as much of a Jane Austen fan as you are. But I did definitely have fun with it. Like there's a reason why my character was Oscar Wilde based rather than Jane Austen based. That's just Personal preference.
You want to tell them what happened the first time you read Prejudice?
You mean when I just messaged you because you made me read it?
Well, I was on the phone call with me and Calzone Betty were on the phone call, and you just joined. And what was the?
No, I didn't even join. I just messaged you.
No, you said it to me because we were. I remember on screen we were both laughing hysterically because you said it in such a tone.
Yeah. But yeah, I believe my words were, Mr. Darcy's such a dick.
We were both howled laughing, so.
He is a dick. It's an accurate statement.
He has a redemption arc.
He's still a dick. But anyway. So yes, that was Good Society.
Yep.
Then came our gap.
Yep.
So when we planned this weekend, we'd been planning to run stuff basically all day, every day.
Yep.
So what was supposed to be in this particular time slot was Steambound.
Yep.
Which is a... Okay. I have had the rules to Age of Sigmar Soulbound for ages. And I've been trying to run it at conventions for over a year without success for one reason or another. I keep, I think it's a very, very good and flexible system that can adapt itself well to a lot of different styles of stories. So, in particular for this one, I'd prepped a steampunk-themed adventure set in my own custom steampunk universe, using the rules basis of Age of Sigmar Soulbound, which I've been referring to as Steambound. Basically everything the people would need to know to play it, other than the basic mechanics, were just on the character sheet, so it would have worked really quite well, I thought. So I pitched that for the 2 o'clock on Saturday time slot. All my other stuff got approved, that one didn't. And the reason for that wasn't any problem with the game itself, it's that I was basically told, because we did sign up events relatively late, I was basically told, early Saturday afternoon is kind of our busiest time slot. There are no tables available at that time. If you want to move it to a different time, you can. And I didn't do that because we were running the entire rest of the weekend. So I thought, okay, well, annoying, but I'll get to run it at some point. And I did end up getting a bit frustrated this weekend just because, as a result of the snow and a lot of other games getting cancelled, there were plenty of tables where I could have run that, but there was no way to add it to the schedule late. I didn't print off character sheets for it because I didn't expect that I would be able to need them or use them. So I felt a little bummed out that if I'd printed the stuff anyway, I could have potentially tried to run it and rope a few people in, but I don't know if I would have been able to find anybody to rope in to play it. So it just felt like a bit of a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Nothing worse than that. But yeah, it did bum me out a little because I've wanted to play the system for a while, and two, I was actually quite excited to play in my own steampunk universe. Yeah. So what did we do instead?
We did Blood on the Clock Tower.
Yep.
Because it's something you can sign up for and go for. Which again, it still continues to be, I don't know what the word is for it.
Mid.
Thank you. And it also has a weird inverse uncanny valley problem.
You mean at the start, nobody knows what they're doing.
Yeah, and then in the middle, it's really cool because everyone's collaborative and it's fun. And then you get people who think that they know what they're doing or doing these galaxy brain plays that aren't actually that.
Yep.
And then they yell at you for not understanding what they're doing when it makes no sense.
Yep.
And that game kind of had, one of those games I think was fine. I don't even really remember one of them.
Again, I was the villain. I finally got to play a bad guy in one of them.
That's the one. I think I remember the first one more because I got the imp, that token, which was hard because this was in the more advanced rule set and there were some character roles I didn't know.
Yeah,
so I didn't understand how the imp's ability worked because they didn't go over any of the character roles at the beginning.
Yep.
At all.
Yep.
And
yeah, because you were the demon that poisons the two people either side of you.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, abilities like that spread as people die.
Yeah, because that's how the empath's ability works. Where if it's the two people next beside you, it's alive. But it does specify alive. That didn't specify alive or dead. So I thought it was moving to the next person when it wasn't actually doing that.
Yes.
Which was, I will say, was very unclear.
Yes, I mean, the thing is, it's a relatively easy change. It would, if I,
Because
was
you
writing
are
that
given
script.
like a list of the roles,
Yep.
but that one just says your two neighbors generally, which I maybe should have assumed just meant the two people next to me.
2 townsfolk neighbors
Yes.
is what it says.
In case you're next to another evil person.
Yeah, an outsider. Or
That's part of it. Part of it was just like, again, I was claiming, because you have to, if you're evil, claim something different. I was claiming the Raven's Keeper. So I was being cagey about what people were asking the entire time because I was actually the imp, and then I would like tell people I was the Raven's Keeper, and like, you should not have told me you were the Raven's Keeper. That's not a role you're supposed to tell. After they made me tell them, I'm like, I don't. What do you want from me? Like, I'm already lying, but like, why are you now yelling at me for doing the thing you told me to tell you? Because I was like with 4 or 5 different people, and I'm just like, what do you want me to do? You told me to trust you, and now you're yelling at me for trusting you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you also had absolutely zero support from your spy because for
Yeah.
whatever reason, the entire point of the spy is they see the grimoire,
Yeah,
which means they know everything, which is super useful for the evil team.
Yeah, so when we like first got together, because you should at least talk to the evil team, the first thing you should tell them, like for instance, is who is the soldier who cannot be killed by you. That would be relevant information.
Yep.
And I think part of the problem I think I'm discovering is that particularly people who are on the evil team, because I encountered this in both games when I was minioning and when I've been on the evil team, is there's just this reticence to share information. Is like people don't tend to realize that when you're on the evil team, there's no reason to not share information a lot of the time.
Yeah, especially with the rest of your evil teammates.
Yeah, because there's some mechanics that can turn you, if you're good, can turn you evil, but there's not any mechanics that can turn you evil to good.
Yeah.
Because that would break the game.
Yes.
So there's not any reason to not tell people everything.
So yeah.
So yeah, that game was just kind of miserable. Also, because both my minions got killed by like round 2, and I was just kind of by my. I lasted till the last round, like
You did.
without very much help. So you know.
But yeah.
So yeah, that game was just kind of high intensity for me because the evil team was yelling at me for not understanding my character correctly and also not giving me information generally. The townsperson told a person who was poisoned who one of my minions was the first round of the game, even though they were poisoned, which made no sense.
Yep.
And then people were yelling at me for telling people I was the Raven's Keeper, even though they told me to tell people I was the Raven's Keeper. And I was kind of fed up by the end of it. I'm just like, I don't know what you want of me.
Yep.
Like, I'm not even actually this role, and you're still telling me I'm playing it wrong.
Yeah. Meanwhile, with our second game, I, for the first time, pulled evil.
Yay! Except
my demon was a small child.
Yeah, we kind of had the inverse problem with both of these games.
Yep.
In my game, I had a bunch of people who like thought they knew how to play, overplaying the game in a way that made no sense to everyone and caused mass chaos.
Yep.
And in your game, we had a bunch of new people who decided to play an advanced script because there are both easy and advanced versions of the script that we talked about last time, including a small child.
Yep.
Who I felt bad for.
Yeah, like it was literally their first time playing.
Yep.
They got the demon, which was a moderately complicated demon, and yeah.
And they didn't really understand what they were doing.
Yeah, and again,
they did about as good a job as I think they could have done.
Yeah, like absolutely. Again, it's mostly just.
Like, I will admit I had the plot solved because I knew immediately you were evil because I asked you to claim a role and you claimed the role that I had.
Yep.
Which
was immediately super suspicious because again I hadn't.
I knew instantly you were a minion at that point.
Yeah, because I had not had a chance to talk to the demon yet to find out what roles I could safely claim.
This probably sounds so weird to people who can't play, don't understand the block power, but whatever. Just fast forward to the next part.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, like I don't think either of those games of Clock Tower were like.
No, I felt a bit bad because there were a couple people who were like gloating over figuring out the solution, which I will admit I figured out round 1, but that was mostly just because I saw who you were talking to and I knew you were evil 100%. I didn't tell anyone any of this because I didn't want to spoil the game for people, and then that felt too much like meta knowledge. Plus, like when I'm on the good team, I find people don't tend to really listen to me because they want to solve it themselves. So I just kind of stand in the background and vote the way that I think I should vote a lot of the time.
Yep.
And then maybe give people information if I think I'm not poisoned. So
yeah, again, I did find the level of gloating that was going on by a couple of members of the good team at the end a bit much, given that like
it was a 10-year-old.
It was a 10-year-old.
Like they were definitely not a teenager even yet. Like they were very young.
Yeah, and it was their first game.
It was their first game ever.
And they were there because their friend was playing.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the two problems you run into in Blood on the Clock Tower. One is, particularly at cons, you're going to get inexperienced players in games, which is fine, but like part of the other problem is a lot of times you have people dragging their friends to play who don't really want to or don't feel comfortable doing it yet.
Yep.
So yeah, both of those were aggressively okay games.
Yep.
And yeah, I will also say, like, if you're playing this, try to avoid meta knowledge. Like, I do think there's a couple times where, like, I knew more information in that game that I let on, but I purposely did not tell anyone what that was
Yeah.
because I didn't want to ruin the game for other people.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of sort of did the same in the game we played later.
To a certain extent, like not to the same level that you were doing it.
Okay.
So. But yeah. What on earth was the last game on?
We were in theory doing the Princess RPG.
Ah, yes. So, Princess RPG, it's a polymorph game. We've run it a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, you are all the princess of blank, and you know, like, do princessy things.
Mm-hmm.
This one didn't end up happening.
Yeah.
By that point, I think there was one person signed up for
Mm-hmm.
it, who did not turn up. Yeah. Which, again, given that by that point the snow was starting to come down pretty heavy, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
You know, that was kind of the point in the day
like
when
2 other people, like one was playing in my earlier game. I think she and her husband were signed up for the later game, but they I think decided to get back early because of the snow, and I get it.
I do. Anybody who prioritized safety this weekend, fine.
Yep.
We have zero problem with you doing that. That was probably the right call. We're not judging.
So at that point, I think we were like, well, the hotel's still open for dinner, so let's just go back over for that.
Yep.
Which wound up being weirdly serendipitous.
Yeah. What were you wearing that day?
I was wearing an Ariel costume, and you were Prince Eric, although no one knew that you were Prince Eric because your costume's kind of lazy.
Again, my costume is a combat. I got identified once. Not there, but later.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus I had a coat on a decent chunk of the time, 'cause it was freezing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we went back over and got dinner. And yeah, do you want to explain what happened when you walked into the hotel dressed as Ariel?
So there was a little girl with a princess tiara on who was having a princess-themed birthday party and clearly invited all of their friends over to stay over for the snowstorm so they could still have their birthday. And we also had a dog with us, which didn't help. And it was just... We were mobbed by children in the best possible way.
Yeah, it was really sweet.
So cute.
There were definitely a lot of kids at the hotel this weekend, which again, I think was just a few families decided that it was a safer option.
Yeah. Particularly if you have small children and stuff like that, being without power or anything like that can be risky for them, and some of them might have health conditions and stuff like that, so it might just be easier to do it that way.
Yeah. And again, backup generators.
Yep. So we also met another separate child who happened to be wearing an Ariel t-shirt. So yeah, it was just... I interacted with children a lot for about a half an hour and did a bunch of character work, which was very fun. Like, somebody, like, the mom was asking if I was, like, literally performing on a stage as Ariel earlier that day somehow, which was a very big compliment.
Yeah, that was very sweet.
Yeah. But yeah, this was just adorable and just very, very sweet.
Yep. So after that, we pootled back across. And
went to the Disney-themed party, which is why I was dressed as Ariel that day.
Yes.
Well, that, and we were supposed to run the Princess RPG, but that didn't end up happening. But again, I kind of still ran it in its own way.
Yeah, sort of, yeah. But yeah, so the Princess Party was at 8.
Yep.
Or the Disney Princess Party was at 8.
Yeah, they did this last year too. They had a pirate-themed party. This time they had a Disney-themed party.
Yep. And again, it was cute. Mm-hmm. You know, there was a couple of games that they ran. So one of them was Green Team Wins.
Which is basically herd mentality, if you're familiar, where you're just trying to guess the most popular answer.
Yep. Our
team wound up winning.
Somehow. We got the first one wrong, and then we got everything after that right.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a game where you get a... If you got the previous question... No. So if you get the question right, you get to go onto the green team.
Mm-hmm.
And whichever... You know, and if you are... And you get 1 point. And if you get the next... And if you get a question right while you're on the green team, you get 2 points. Mm. So if you get, you know, one wrong somewhere in the middle, it's kind of more problematic. You just wind up with fewer points. Again, perfectly fine, perfectly functioning trivia game. Again, especially given that a lot of them are like very subjective opinion-based things, you know, that doesn't actually lend itself to having a right answer in that regard.
They're Disney themed. These were cute. I think they're about the right level. There were a few that were obvious, like Tinkerbell or Merryweather or something like that. Which is the better fairy, but like...
Yeah.
Most of them were, I think, pitched at about the right level. So this was a cute game.
Yeah.
And if you won, you got to pick a prize from the prize board. They were pretty much giving these things away just because I think there were supposed to be prizes for tournaments too, but no, a lot of the tournaments weren't happening, so they were giving away a lot of games.
They had a lot of prizes left over, so they were just like, yep, everybody who participated can have a prize. Mm-hmm. You know, and everybody, and if you won, you get a second prize.
Cool.
So, cool. and since you and I were on a team together, like they said, they weren't doing it by household, so so we could just take 4 board games. Cool, thanks.
Well, I think we got one from that. We got one from the costume contest, which happened after. So the costume contest, this wasn't like a formal costume contest. You just kind of stand up, and then there's judges who I think are just other Colin volunteers who pick the winners.
Yep.
And I think they purposely kind of did it to give as many different people prizes as could get prizes, which I was fine with.
I was fine with that.
We didn't wind up winning anything. One of the judges, I think, insisted that we should have won something, insisted that we should get like free badges for next year or something, but
Yeah.
I didn't.
We didn't
pursue it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's fine. We'll just pay for badges.
Yep. Or we'll GM a bunch and you could give us a free badge for
Yeah,
that.
that's honestly the reason we would prefer to get free badges as opposed to wearing princess costumes.
Yes.
Although I am apparently getting a reputation in this in these particular con spaces for my massive dress collection at the moment.
Yep.
Which is bound to happen eventually.
Yeah, well, again, if a weirdo in a ball gown keeps turning up to board game conventions, people are going to notice eventually.
I like that you call me a weirdo.
I'm also a weirdo.
Yeah. So yeah, the cosplay contest was cute. It was what it was themed to be. There weren't a lot of actual people there who weren't with the con at this point.
Yep.
Because we were peak snowstorm, so it was basically a few people who were staying in the hotel, or like us, the hotel across the street, and most of the people who were working the convention who I think were also staying in the hotel.
Yeah.
But it was still fun. We got a bunch of free games.
We did.
And then last game was a Wits and Wagers, which I think was the most kind of chaotic and not fully planned out.
Yeah, so Wits and Wagers is one that we've played before. You've actually played it with your students.
Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult to explain for people who aren't familiar with board games. Like, it's not a difficult game. It's just a little bit hard to play at a party with a group of people.
So I wouldn't necessarily say that, because the rules are relatively simple. It's a case of you are given a trivia question. The answer to that question will be a number in some capacity. You write down what you think the answer is, then all of the answers get put in in size order on a wager on the wager board, and you can then go up and like bid your money. And again, this is fake in-game money.
Yeah.
On which answer you think got the closest without going over. So if you have absolutely no idea, you can still potentially, win stuff just by thinking, okay, well, 3 teams are all in this kind of ballpark, so maybe it's probably somewhere over here.
Yeah, part of the problem I think with this was just one, they divided the teams randomly instead of letting people who were like friends and stuff stay on a team, which for us, given that I'm pretty sick right now, was a problem.
Yep.
So we kind of just ignored that rule.
Yep.
And the person we were on a team with, I don't think really was interested in actually playing. I'm not sure if I want to say much more than that.
Again, they were interested in like trying to answer the question, but they weren't interested in the wagering part.
Yeah. So that meant that our team kind of was not, we couldn't really play.
Yeah, we weren't particularly optimized.
Yeah. Not that we needed to be optimized. I just wanted to be but it made it hard to play the game.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Plus, I'm going to be honest, it didn't help that the guy running it freely admitted that he got ChatGPT to write his questions for him.
Which is just...
Don't do that with trivia.
Just don't do that. If you want to offshoot it, I'll write the questions for you next year. I'm good at writing trivia questions.
Yeah, because for one thing, one of the questions was how many puppies are there in 101 Dalmatians? And ChatGPT said the answer was 101. It's not. Like, Pongo and Purdy are not puppies. And they are there are 99 puppies. There are some other dogs that you see.
Well, like, that was also just a weirdly worded question, because I didn't know what it was asking. It was asking about puppies. Does puppies just mean, does that mean the actual number of puppies that are shown? Because I'm pretty sure the actual number of puppies that are shown is not actually 99. It's probably some different number.
Yeah, I think they say there are 99, but I don't think all 99 are ever shown on screen at once.
Yeah. Is it the amount of dogs that just appear in the film generally? Because that's over 101, because there's other dogs that they talk to. Is it just puppies that Pongo and Purdy have? It was not a very clearly worded question.
Yeah. Which, again, that's why you don't let ChatGPT write them for you.
So, yeah, that was kind of the, like, not as good, but it was still fun. It was cute to hang out with people.
It was. Yeah. So, at that point, once again, we headed back.
Yep.
And this was probably the hairiest bit of driving we did all weekend. Just because at that point, snow was coming down. Like, it was a little on the finicky side. But again, very short drive, like a couple of minutes. And we had a backup dress for you in the car if we decided that
walk back or something.
Yeah, if we decided we had to walk it. We didn't end up having to do that, but we planned ahead in case we needed to. So yeah, so at that point we went to bed.
Yep.
And then got up the next day, and by this point we'd already extended the hotel stay, so I didn't have to worry about loading up the car that day.
Which is smart.
Yep. So we gallivanted off to the convention.
I was wearing the dress you got me for Christmas.
Yep.
It was a very sugar plummy, kind of very snowy dress, which I liked a lot.
Yeah, the purple number, which is very very fun. You look great now. Love you. Yeah, sorry. We have we have this annoying habit of the dresses I buy for you never quite being as good as we want them to be, and this one seems to be one that's actually like good and what we expected, and
it's very pretty.
But yeah, so got up early again, headed over for 10 o'clock. This was the day when we had no idea what it was going to look like.
Yeah.
Baby bean. It wasn't snowing when we went over. And the roads had been like at least partially cleared, like not a lot, but enough that we were able to get over without too many problems.
Yeah, I would say that this was the worst driving, honestly.
Probably.
Because again, the roads were kind of sort of clear. We managed to make it over okay. It was definitely like, the car was yelling at us the entire time. You're skidding, you're skidding, you're skidding. We know, we can't not skid.
Yeah, I can feel the back kicking out. Thank you. But yeah, so again, annoying, but oh well.
Yeah.
But we made it. Yep, got parked up.
Yeah, and I didn't know what to expect because this was definitely the day where if people weren't going to show up, they weren't going to show up. And my own game only had one particular person signed up for it at the time period.
Yep.
Somebody who actually probably had played with before, but I don't think they actually made it down this weekend.
I don't think they did.
Fine. Because I think they're up in Michigan, and that's a hard ask for a drive.
Yeah,
so.
Especially with all this going
on. So when we sat down at the table, it was pretty apparent no one was going to sign up for this game, which was fine. Somebody was looking for a Kids on Bikes game, which is also a game that we were planning to pivot to.
Yep, if our game didn't make, our plan was to go to the Kids on Bikes game.
And then that game looked like it was also not going to make because the GM, I don't think, showed up. So we went over to that table where they were seated and basically asked if we knew enough about Kids on Bikes that we could probably do a quick adventure. It would definitely be a little bit seat of our pants and wouldn't be as good as something that's prepared, but we could do it.
Yep.
And the table was just like, well, what game did you prepare?
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I prepared this passion or soap opera game. And they're like, that sounds fun. Let's just play that.
So they basically said, they'd give the GM until like 15:15 to see if they turned up.
Yep.
And if not, then basically the three of them would, join us for our game instead.
Yep.
And we're like, okay, cool. And rather than stay on table 10, which was out in the corridor, nobody was using the RPG rooms that were actually in their own private room at that point.
Yeah, so we basically had our own private room to do the RPG, which was awesome.
Yeah, so we just pilfered one of those.
Yeah.
And then one of the people who we played with multiple games over the weekend also turned up and
because their Planet of the Apes game, I think, was also canceled, so they joined our table too. So we wound up just getting a full table of people who just were fine with that, which was awesome. And everyone was very game for this. So.
Yeah, and Passion of Passions is a very silly game.
Yeah.
You are all like characters in a soap opera. Everything should be as arch and ridiculous and over the top as possible. Like it's a love letter to Mexican telenovelas. But you can adapt it with no problems to basically any kind of soap opera style you want to do.
And for those of you who are longtime listeners of the podcast, I was gifted this game by somebody we played it with at Origins last year, and he made me promise to run it at cons, and I've been keeping good on that promise of running this game at cons.
Yep.
In honor of him. Still need to run Thirsty Sword Lesbians. I really need to circle back around to that one.
We've got a copy. We just haven't.
Part of the problem with Thirsty Sword Lesbians is it's obviously extremely queer coded, and cons do tend to be, or board game cons tend to be slightly left leaning, but they're a lot less left leaning and LGBTQ friendly than like anime cons are. So it's hard to find like ones that are good to run at, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Like, for the record, we didn't have a single problem this weekend.
We didn't. It's hard to know. Like, I don't think Thirsty Sword Lesbians is really a Yukon game, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I wouldn't run it there. A Catacon, you could probably run it.
Catacon, I think, would love it. So, yeah, this was fun. Again, this still has like fairly involved character creation, not quite as involved as Good Society, but enough that like it gives you relations and stuff like that to talk to. You get to set up your world.
Yep.
This is similar to where I didn't have a plot for it, and I just did similar to what the way I saw it facilitated did, where you just have the players choose a scenario. I do think next time I'm going to run it, I am just going to pick a scenario and kind of make my own version, just to give it a little bit more structure.
Yeah,
so I think it'll last a little bit longer if I like prep my own story a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Not that it's bad. I still really enjoyed it. It's just I think having a little bit more structure might help the game a little bit.
Yeah. And again, like there is a certain fun to us all just like collaboratively creating something stupid.
Yeah.
Because in this case, we basically went with a even more OTP version of Game of Thrones, and one of the recurring things that I've noticed when playing both Passions, Late Show, a lot of these kind of games, if you're meant to be like actors, you will start commenting on like, yeah, so this happens, but it's mostly off screen because we didn't have the budget for any of it, and just the way that that ends up invariably building on itself is your show ends up with a budget of absolutely nothing.
Yep.
Because that's just the funniest possible situation to be in. So yeah. Generally speaking, I had a lot of fun with this. You know, the climax got completely out of hand.
But it was completely ridiculous in all the best ways.
Yeah.
And people choose to do Game of Thrones style stuff, so it got about as ridiculous as it was going to.
Yep.
Yeah, I love the. And as if you've listened to this podcast before, you know that the evil twin is a character in this game that tends to be the agent of chaos in this game.
Yep. But again, they're constantly pretending to be their, the other twin. Except I was playing the slightly like mob boss inspired character.
Yeah.
And the guy we'd been playing with on and off all weekend was my evil twin. So we were like, okay, given that my character is kind of sinister, is your evil twin a good guy, or are they just extra evil? And he was like, oh, they're extra evil. And I was like, cool, we can work with that. And then the dice gods favored us because, like, one of the things that ended up happening at the end was an honorable duel between our two characters, you know, to determine who was in the right. And then the dice gods decided we would both get 11.
Which is great.
Yeah, which at that point was just like, okay, so we simultaneously stab each other.
Yep.
Presumably the actor who's been playing both evil twins needs a week off. You know, so yeah, like that's the kind of nonsense that you can't plan for because it's it only happened because the dice gods were like, this will be funny.
Yeah, and I always try to make it so that there's like an inciting incident, typically a character death, which you guys just came up with on your own this time. It was great.
Yep.
And then a ball at the end, but this time instead of a ball, I think we just had a council meeting that got really out of hand.
Yep. Yeah, we did. Again, everybody accusing each other of murdering the king.
Yep.
You know, and trying to put like their preferred child on the throne.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It was very fun.
A lot of fun, very silly, very over the top. Not as much romance as previous occasions when we played it, but a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had about an hour break after that, I think, because again, that one ended a little bit early.
Yeah, which I kind of expected, but I was really glad I got to run it. Like, the climax was fantastic.
Yeah.
Emma, don't be on the mic, okay? Hi. I know.
So again, just kind of wandered around again, got some concession stand food. And then, at that point, they were very clearly packing the con up.
Yeah. Part of the reason we were at it, like, I think your last game was at a different table is because they had already planned to move those tables away.
Yeah. Like, table 10 was gone by the time we came out. Like, I suspected we'd still be running a game at it.
They would have kept it.
They would have kept it, but, like, it was very clear we weren't using it at that point. Yeah. So,
although they were packing stuff up into like semi trucks, I'm like, I do not know how those trucks are getting out of here at this point. But you do you.
I suspect at least in part it's because they were required to by the convention or by the hotel to like have certain spaces cleared, and I do think they arranged for some of the more like public spaces to effectively stay open for us. So at that point, again we killed about an hour. And then the next thing that was running was our last game of the day, or what I planned to be the last game of the day, which was Sentai and Sensibility.
Yes.
So more Jane Austen, but this time Jane Austen crossed with Power Rangers, because that's funny. So yeah, Sentai and Sensibility is just a very, very stupid game.
Yeah. And it is worth noting, because we did have a few breaks in this game, most often what we did is kind of wander around to the different rooms and talk to people, and try to do the con puzzle.
Yes. And side note, if you're a board game con, have a con puzzle.
Con puzzles are great. Con puzzles are great if you just have an hour break and you just want to work on something. I don't think we wound up finishing the con puzzle this weekend because we didn't have enough people on it, but
Yep.
We got close.
We did. You managed to put together most of the alien dude. Yeah. So again, con puzzle is exactly what it sounds like. Just put a jigsaw puzzle out on a table and let people have fun. Just kind of like, oh, I've got 20 minutes. I'll see if I can put a few pieces in the puzzle.
Yeah. So then we did Sentai and Sensibility.
Yep.
Again, this was unknown. We didn't know who was going to show up.
Yeah,
Wound up just being one person.
Yeah, it nominally had a full 5-person table. We ended up with just one, plus you.
Yeah.
Which, again, people prioritizing their safety, prioritizing getting home safe and sound, like, valid.
We get it.
No, like, another con, that hadn't had all this going on, it would have annoyed me more. At this one, I was like, no, that's fine.
Like, we knew Sunday was going to be a complete, kind of hullabaloo anyway. I'm like amazed we managed to wrangle people for Passion of Passions.
Yeah, like complete crapshoot roll of the dice situation.
Yeah, just enough people happened to have their games canceled, and I had an open game with open seats.
Yeah,
so
and it was a game that they found interesting.
Yeah,
because one of the people who was doing Passions that morning was also in Sentai.
Yeah,
which she actually emailed me from across the table because she didn't realize I was the one running Sentai.
Yeah,
which is cute. So.
And I think it would have been fun with a few more people, but it still worked. Like,
it still works.
The character creation in Sentai actually is fun.
Yep.
And I could tell the person with the table with us was having an absolute ball with it, despite it not being fun, or not it not being fun, but not being many people at the table.
Yeah.
And I was having fun because they were having so much fun, which I think worked.
Because again, part of the thing about Sentai and Sensibility is you're a team of like Power Rangers style characters. But set in the Regency era period, which means, among other things, you end up with this long, complicated title made up of like 5 separate parts plus your name that you have to announce anytime you do your Sentai transformation, and those things get very silly.
Yeah.
Because you were what, the posh? What on earth were you?
The posh premier, trans traveler. Carnation.
Yeah. T-Rex.
T-Rex.
Yeah.
Roxy.
Yeah. Like, the titles you end up with are very silly, but very fun.
And actually, I do really like this adventure you wrote for me because it gives you a lot of character interaction. And with more players, you can definitely go into more depths with those character interactions.
Like, again, I'm trying to decide if it's, like, I freely admit, with more players, it would have lasted a little longer, and I do worry I wrapped up the plot a little quick.
It still lasted 2.5 hours with 3 people, which I feel like is a pretty, and you only had a 3-hour time slot for it.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, I feel like that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might start setting this one for 4 hours, just to give enough time that, depending on how much conversing with everybody at the ball you want to do, you've got the option to.
Yeah.
Like, again, technically, by genre convention, it has to end in a fight with a giant rubber-suited monster.
Obviously. But it's meant to be a mashup of Jane Austen and Power Rangers, effectively.
Yeah.
And, like, I think you do a really good job of writing both of those themes very, very well.
Yep. Well, again, it's a Jane Austen-style, event. It's just one of the people there is a Power Rangers villain. So like, partway through the evening, a giant rubber-suited monster is going to get summoned. And, everybody's going to have to transform into their superhero identities to fight them. Like, what more do you need? And I did end up playing a character this time rather than just GMing, just because, again, only having 2 Rangers would have been tricky. It's doable, but it's harder. So we at least had a 3rd Ranger. But yeah. So at that point, we had played all of our games.
Yep.
If it hadn't been for the weather, that's the point at which we would have hopped in the car on the road home.
Yep.
But weather was not cooperating with us.
Yep. So we drove the car back.
Yep.
Basically.
Yeah, because by that point we had confirmation that our county was under the level 3 snow emergency.
Yep. So we couldn't even drive back into it.
Yeah.
So
that they would have. There was a non-zero chance we would have got stopped, and they probably wouldn't have arrested us, but
all of the warnings did say subject to arrest. Probably would have just gotten a ticket or something. But like, it was just like not worth driving through, especially since we had to drive through like 6 or 7 other counties that were also having level 3 snow emergencies.
Yeah.
So like, that was just too much to ask for.
Yeah, 4.5-hour drive in that situation would have just been a very, very bad idea.
Hence again, why we called our local sheriff's office to confirm we could do this.
Yep. Yeah, we called to confirm, and like, again, so far the highway has been basically fine.
It's been fine. It's not. The highway is what they would have targeted first. So we are the only person on the road right now, which is concerning.
Oh, there's others. Like, not a massive number of them, but there's a couple who are like behind us.
That's fair.
But yeah, like I think most people are just hunkered down. It's just we got stuck in the wrong city.
Which again, we can explain, and if we do get pulled over, we will explain that we called our local sheriff's office and asked if we could make this drive, and they said it was okay.
Yes. So yeah. So at that point, we went back over to our hotel by car, and we chatted with a couple of people kind of on the way out who said, you know, there was some more stuff going to be going late into the evening for the people who are stuck.
Yeah.
So we said, yeah, sounds like a plan. So I got dinner.
I took a shower.
You took a shower.
I changed out of an elaborate ball gown because we're going to be walking back over.
Yep.
Just kept my wig on though because my hair was still wet and I didn't want to deal with it. So.
Yep. Yeah. So then we just walked back over, and this was I think this was the only time we did it as a walk rather than a drive.
Yeah. But it was an easy walk.
Yeah.
Like, I will say we didn't have to we didn't actually cross at stoplights or anything because there weren't any cars on the road, so we just walked straight across the road. And it honestly wasn't any worse than when we drove over before because it had stopped in our area by then.
Yeah.
But it was still safer just because it was nighttime to do that. So.
Yeah. And we weren't sure if we were getting any more after that or not, so it made sense just to walk over. So again, the walk itself took like less than 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Went back in. A bunch of people were kind of having dinner. That was the point at which we noticed the restaurant in the hotel had been opened.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see it open at any other point over the weekend, but I might just not have noticed. Because again, I was doing concession stand food and hotel food across the way.
Yeah.
I like the food fine at that convention center, but it's expensive.
Yeah. There were some people ordering and having fun. We chatted with some people we met earlier and just talked to them for about an hour. Then we went to the board game room and we played some game. We played a game I hadn't heard before for one turn, and then we mentioned we had Decrypto, and apparently the person we were playing with really liked Decrypto.
Yep. So we played some Decrypto.
I also really liked Decrypto. So. Yep. And people who were new at it seemed to really like it too. So.
Yep. So yeah, we got through 2 rounds of Decrypto, one of which my side won and one of which your side won, because Decrypto is one of those games that we try to not be on the same team for.
Just so you can't do in-house clues or anything like that.
Yep. Yeah, what was the one that you said you could... Oh, yeah, it was Alkali, wasn't it?
It was Alkali for basement.
Yep.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. If you don't know, we do not have the hour and a half it would take to explain.
Yep.
But yeah. So that was, that was fun.
Yeah, we did a last game of Clock Tower.
Yep.
Were you actually suspicious of me for being on the evil team for once?
Yep. But again, that was a bit of a chaotic game because we had, among other things, a child who started off claiming to be chef and then claimed to be saint, who turns out actually was the saint and got executed, and as a result we lost the game.
This is one of those things where if you are playing this game at cons, you're going to be playing with kids, and kids are going to throw monkey wrenches into everything.
Yep.
So.
But again, I get the impression the storyteller felt bad for our team at one point because of how badly you guys were steamrolling us.
Yeah, I was a minion in this game, poisoning people. I poisoned you first round, which
caused a bunch of problems.
It did cause a lot of problems.
Because I was the virgin
and
again.
You didn't actually catch on that that's what I was doing, so I'm proud of that.
Again, I suspected that I had been poisoned or was drunk, and it could have, okay, put it this way. I wasn't surprised when it turned out you were the bad guy. Or one of the bad guys.
I know you were surprised that you're the bad guy, but I don't think you had me pegged as poisoner. I think you
not specific.
Or something.
I suspected you might be a minion. I didn't know which one.
Yeah.
I was sure of exactly one thing in that game, and that was that one of the people across from me, one specific one I will say, was a minion, and I was right.
Yep.
But that was mostly just because she did something kind of weird turn 1.
Mm-hmm. So. But yeah, it was, I think, her first time being a minion, generally, though.
Yeah.
And again, generally, when we are when we suspect each other of being evil just because we have meta knowledge about it, I think we try to keep suspicion on each other generally, and just generally don't try to spread it. I don't know if you told anyone that you thought it was evil.
I didn't have enough confidence in it.
Mm-hmm. You really weren't just letting me win?
No.
So I mentioned to a couple people that you were evil, but I did not mention who you've been talking to at all, even though I had the entire evil team figured out within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, again, you were trying to make sure that the kid playing the demon in that one had a good experience.
Well, there was also, there was straight up a person, because I just happened to be sitting down where everyone else was talking, and the demon, the 10-year-old child demon, was talking to somebody who I knew for sure was not on the evil team, and he was just straight up explaining to him how to play the demon, just because he played a lot and was trying to help the kid out, and he also did not say anything about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if the kid began the conversation with, hypothetically, if you were a demon, is an attempt to stave him off, but, you know, I'm sure he knew it was just trying to make
sure that everybody had fun.
Yeah. Because the idea of this game is you really should get down to the final round.
Yes. Yeah, whereas I think that, because that was also another big game, that was 17?
17 people, so it was pretty chaotic. It didn't actually go to time because the child, unfortunately, was the saint, and was so an agent of chaos that, like...
The saint got executed.
Yeah.
Again, I died night one, so... Or I was the first person executed. Because again, the Virgin's power is if you get... The first time somebody nominates you to get executed, if they are a townsfolk, then they are executed instead immediately.
Yep.
So it's a good like one-off way to confirm that two people are on the good side.
Mm-hmm.
But because you'd poisoned me, the person who accused me didn't get executed immediately, so I got executed.
Yep.
Which sort of made me look suspicious, but also, or possibly made them look suspicious, and we were both on the good side.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for that, honey.
Yeah, it took like 4 rounds to undo that.
Yep.
You didn't let me win that game, did you?
Honey.
Okay.
Trust your own competence at being evil.
I'm not sure I want the listeners to know that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we did that. It was about 11 when we trekked back.
Yeah.
And then, for whatever weird reason that night, people were just up at 2 a.m. around us. It was very weird.
Again, I think that was just a bunch of the kids who were like stuck at the hotel and kind of bored.
Yeah. And then Emma kept barking, so like it just got a little bit chaotic at that point. But
like she wasn't bad. It was.
She wasn't bad. It was just like it was 2 a.m. and she was barking because the people next door were making noise, and I was trying to shut her up.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I think the only people who could have heard her were the people next door who were awake anyway, so it was fine. But
But yeah. And again, she did quiet down again.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like she was barking for like minutes at a time.
No, she would just hear a noise and would bark for a few minutes, but that was not helping. So.
Yeah. Like it wasn't even minutes. It was like
yeah.
a few barks. We'd tell her to behave, and then she'd calm down.
Mm-hmm.
So. But yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to think what. Oh yeah. So at that point, we went to bed, and then we got up this morning, and we had to figure
like an hour trying to figure out if we should make this drive today or not, because we had no idea what the weather is like in Ohio. Now that we were actually in Ohio, it's about the same.
Yep. Yeah, like we've been getting reports of everything from Zanesville, which is near us. I'm getting like 1.5 feet of snow to like 3 inches of snow. I suspect the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, we'll see how good it is, because I know that our area supposedly got hit harder than where we are currently, but thus far it looks about the same.
About the same. Like again, as long as they've got the highway clear, we'll be able to get pretty much into town because we're not far off the highway.
Well, enough into town that if like our car actually does get stuck, we can just walk. But
yeah.
I imagine the roads are clear enough by now.
I would assume so. Like the snow patrol in town is aggressively on top of things usually. Unless we cut their budget so that we can buy another police car.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things that it's just about figuring out. But again, we called the sheriff's department. They said we were okay to do this.
Yeah, I know we've emphasized that a lot, but it was very important to us that we were following legality and safety. So.
Because we have seen a few cars off the side of the road, during this drive. Like not as many as I thought we might, but definitely a few.
Like that one.
Like that one. So yeah, that was River City.
Yeah. So what we didn't do segment's going to be kind of hard to talk about because one, there's obviously a lot of stuff at Board Game Cons, and more specifically, I don't know which of those events actually happened.
Yeah, I have no idea what round, what didn't. Like they made an announcement, as I said, that like the Catan tournament was still happening, but was no longer going to be a regional Catan qualifier, which I'm assuming was due to like either numbers of people signed up or whoever was meant to like moderate the event wasn't able to attend or something like that. So who knows?
They did do like play to win draws where you play a game and you get to win it through raffles. So they did that. I think they had 2 drawings for that. They have a big heads or tails tournament for prizes where you flip coins, and if you flip them like heads or tails, I think enough times in a row, then you get like prizes. I have a feeling they had enough prizes given the lack of people that everyone probably got a prize, so that was cool. Yeah,
the way that basically works is just they flip a coin. Before it lands, you have to decide whether it's going to be heads or tails using like gesticulating things, and then if you are right, you stay on. If you're wrong, you get eliminated.
Yep.
And there are prizes in some capacity. I'm unsure of the exact details. We were busy at our table at that point.
Yeah, it's a sort of silly luck-based thing that I would like to watch, but probably never play.
Yeah.
Plus, we had a lot of board games already.
Yeah.
Good con swag at this con.
Oh, yeah.
So those are the things that we know for sure happened. There was, I assume, also Pathfinder and Starfinder. There were also board games that were probably going on.
Yeah, Pathfinder and Starfinder were running basically all weekend. Like, they were still actively running when we came back on the Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they were supposed to still be running at that point, but they were. Which, again, like, completely fair and valid. Again, if you're in this situation, I think getting through it in whatever way works best for you is the right decision. Do you agree?
Yeah. So top con moments?
Top con moments. Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the absolute complete madness that was Late Show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody at that table understood the assignment, and the minute I knew we were doing Space Goat the movie with, you know, like, Jonathan Statham or whatever he was called as the goat while you were playing an actual goat, like, yeah, that was sweet. Yeah, that's Kingdom Candy is now officially level 2.
Cool. We just got a message
Yes.
for that.
Yeah, that just picked up.
While they were an actual goat, though.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, again, that was an absolute blast. Everybody understood the assignment, and again, like, it's a game where you are going to fail most of the dice rolls you make, and for some games that's a bit of a feels bad. Like, I'm going to be honest, I don't like Call of Cthulhu because it always feels like failing rolls in Call of Cthulhu always kind of feels like it hurts.
Yeah.
Whereas failing rolls in this game is the entire goddamn point.
Yeah. I will admit I'm just not a Lovecraftian fan generally. I know most people are. I'm not. I don't like the universe of the world pretty much at all. And it's also just been so dominated in tabletop games right now. There's so much Cthulhu-themed stuff. Can we move on to a different motif, please? It's kind of similar to how I feel about horror as a genre generally, where it feels a little bit overrepresented in con games right now.
Yeah.
But this again was not that, and it was very, very fun. So I definitely, I would have picked that moment if you hadn't.
Oh, yeah.
I will pick Good Society, because that was another great table. I had a blast with that. It was very, very fun. It was exactly what I wanted, and I had the high of my Jane Austen experience in that game.
That's fair. I'm going to pick, and this is technically cheating because it wasn't part of the con. Yeah, I'm going to pick the moment that the little girl in the
No. You do not get that moment. That is my moment.
Aw, it was super sweet, though.
It was super sweet, but I get to choose it.
Okay.
It was about me.
Okay.
Fine, you can have it.
It was just adorable.
It was fine, you can have it. Now I have to come up with a different moment because that was going to be my next moment.
Yep.
I will pick Passion of Passions, though, because it was fun to just kind of find a table of people and randomly play a game just with people who were stuck there. So that was my next moment.
That's always fun, yeah. I will pick a specific moment within the Pugmire game, which is the moment when the father who picked, because I just used the intro characters for that game, picked up Sergeant Leo Bulldog, and he started doing the same goddamn voice that everybody else who plays Leo has done.
Yep.
Like, I've run this game at cons 3 times now. Everybody who's played Leo has done that voice. It's great. And your third one?
I will honestly just pick, I didn't know people here as well, so like late night pajama antics on Sunday wasn't quite as great as it might have been with some groups of people like I know and feel comfortable with, but it's just kind of fun to have that like day, what is it? I don't know. So if day like 0 is the day before the con starts, what do you call the day after the con? Because it doesn't make sense to call it like day 3 or day 4.
Yeah.
What would you call it? Like day plus or something?
Yeah, maybe.
Or bonus day or something?
It might need a thing, but yeah. Some nomenclature.
It's just kind of fun to because it feels kind of like you're not supposed to be there anymore, like kind of when you're sneaking out as a teenager or something like that.
I wouldn't know, I never did that.
I know, because you're lame. But I did. It kind of feels like, when you're like eating at Denny's at like 2 a.m. and you're kind of not supposed to be, either because you're not allowed to as a kid or because you feel like you're not allowed to for whatever reason as a kid again. Like, it had that kind of experience still.
Yeah. And
it is kind of fun to do that on a snow day and just hang out with a bunch of randos. So
it is. I would agree with you on that point.
No, a lot of kids were up at 11 o'clock at night, but
Yeah. Again, like
I get that like parenting at that point is just like, are you alive? It's fine. So I'm not judging any of them terribly much because I'm sure if we were parents, we'd probably be in the same position.
Yeah.
You're alive. You've got like toast from the toaster. You're not outside in the cold freezing. Let's just go with it. The small child in that game, though, the last game we played of Blood on the Clock Tower did have like
The small child or the really small child?
So there was a small child who was playing, and there was an even smaller child who couldn't have been more than 3 years old, along with a baby who was there who understood enough that they could talk, but definitely didn't understand enough to play.
Yes.
Which also ruined my minion game, but you know.
Yeah. I feel the need to point out how badly you hammered us in that game.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot say your minion game was ruined.
Well, like, you weren't convinced by my ploys because I didn't have enough time to, like, confirm it with people because for whatever reason, kids tend to, like me.
As I said to you last night, I think it's just you give off, like, approachable big sister energy.
Yeah. So the kid was talking to me through the entire first 2 rounds of play.
Yep.
About, like, because we were pointing out there were 2 Amandas who were playing the game, which then led him to have a very long monologue about all the people he knew who had the same names. I learned a lot about that. Apparently some of them live in Alabama.
Yep. This was very useful information for you to have for the game.
Yep. And then I was talking to somebody else because they were asking what information I learned, and I'm like, well, I've been talking to a small child, so I learned that these people live in Alabama. And then somebody's like, and the kid was just dead serious, and one of the Calebs live in San Francisco. And I was like, thanks. You're very helpful. They did technically spot the demon, though.
They sort of did, yeah.
And first, they called everyone the demon. But...
Yeah. But they were asked what character somebody was, and they just pointed straight at the demon.
Yep. And they
were in fact the demon, which I had not suspected.
Yep. Well, again, that's my job as a minion, is to draw you off the course, and I never let you suspect that person. So.
Yep. And yeah, like, executing the Saint was a bad call,
yep.
But, you know. Ugh.
So now for our con ranking system.
Yep. Our con ranking system, if you've not heard this podcast before, is extremely simple. It's one question.
Would we go back? Which, as we point out, is a subjective question because a lot of that has to do with how far the con is from our house specifically.
Yes.
So it's not going to be the same answer for you.
Yeah. Now, granted, if it's a 7-hour drive and we're saying definitively yes, that probably means it was a really good con.
Yeah.
You know, or if it's an hour from our house and we're saying no, that probably means it wasn't great.
Yeah.
So again, this one's about a 4.5-hour drive in, like, normal weather conditions.
Yeah. Part of the reason I do like it, though, is it is at a time of year where there's not a lot on, which I do actually like.
Yeah, so do I.
And I will say, like, in terms of con rankings and con problems this weekend, it's hard to kind of review this con just because the weather was such a big factor this weekend, which we expected it to be. And I do honestly feel like they handled it the best as they reasonably could have. Yep.
Now, and again, you've still got your health stuff going on, which is definitely still, like, weighing on you a little bit. Yeah. What was my next statement going to be?
Health stuff going on, ranking system.
Boatload of geese.
Yeah, geese.
But yeah, so ultimately, this comes down. This one's about a 4.5-hour drive from us. Which, whatever the case, like, that means we're getting an Airbnb for it, or a hotel room, or whatever.
Yeah, we might do that hotel game, but again, if we go back, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I think it worked fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we did this last year. We did it this year. Would we go back again next year?
Probably.
I'd say probably. I do think it's one that I think we'll probably run more stuff at, just because.
Yeah, they don't tend to have a lot on that really caters to us.
Yeah.
Although we do get a lot of really good players at our table.
Yeah. Which is why I think it's a good one for us to run at, just because, again, we definitely get people who want to do these kind of weird RPGs and don't have the opportunity to do them as many other places. Because, again, there are a lot of people who, like, just want to do, like, card games, or, like, there was this lovely moment while we were doing the con puzzle for about an hour, because we had some time to kill, and we could just hear a guy at a table near us explaining the rules of this game to the people who were there. I don't think he'd finished explaining the rules of the game by the time we left. And this was over the course of, like, an hour.
Yep. And of course it involves sheep. Like, the sheep were involved.
Yep.
How many sheep you could have was important.
Yep. So it was something that involved farming.
Yeah, it almost felt like a prolonged Proto-ZZ sketch.
Yep. Yeah, if you've ever seen the one where he's explaining the difference between American games and Euro games, it's basic. It was that sketch, it just lasted an hour.
Yep. We're just laughing in the corner. To be clear, if this is the type of game you love, great.
Great, have fun with it. It's just, it kind of amused us, especially as, like, we were definitely at the, like, kind of sleep-deprived, kind of out of it phase at that point.
Yeah.
Like, most of what's got us through this weekend has been caffeine. I'm not going to lie, at least it has for me. Don't know about you.
Yeah. So next week, and I'm gonna put this in theory because this week is going to. There's a lot of monkey wrenches this week.
Yeah.
Like a lot of monkey wrenches.
Yeah, there's still the weather.
Yep.
Like, we're not entirely sure if the university is going to be open at all this week because, like, the wind chill is bad enough that it might just get cancelled all week.
Yeah.
But
it would be nice if they just said that at the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
But no, they're not going to do that.
Uh,
My guess is we'll probably be on a delay tomorrow.
So yeah, we'll see how that works out generally. I still don't know what's going to happen with my classes specifically involving that, given everything that's happening.
Yep.
And yeah, so I do have some autonomy there, so we'll see how that works.
Yep.
There's some other stuff going on this week that I don't think I really want to talk about.
That's fine.
But it's nothing that is like damaging our relationship or anything. What?
Sorry.
What?
It's just the fact you wasn't expecting you to say that.
I don't know. I was just trying to think of what people would like assume.
That's fair.
Like that's one of the things that I think they might assume. I don't know. No one died. What else do I need to like state on as like things that people might worry about?
That's fair.
Like that wasn't like a hint or anything.
Yeah. Again, mostly if you've been listening to this podcast, you could probably take some educated guesses. So
yeah.
But yeah.
And we don't know for sure if that's happening because of the weather also.
Yeah.
So it's just...
Yeah, we don't know how it's going to go and all of that jazz. So yeah, next week is completely up in the air. Theoretically, what might we be doing next weekend? I don't remember.
OhioCon.
Is that OhioCon on the spreadsheet?
Yeah, OhioCon's next on the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if we're staying overnight or driving back and forth for that, even if we do go.
Yeah,
so,
because we have no idea. Next weekend is very up in the air. It's going to depend on a lot of different factors. So yeah, we will have to see.
Yeah. So thanks for being patient with us. I don't know. I don't even want to say that like we really don't know what the next week is going to look like.
No.
So.
But thank you very much.
If you're a longtime supporter of this podcast and have been following this, we do appreciate you continuing to listen because it really does. It's a nice pick me up.
It is. So yeah, well, so that was River City Con. If you're listening to this episode, that means we made it home safely.
Yep.
Because I did not bring my.
Well, he's not going to upload the episode on the road. It's also a day late for the obvious reasons that there was snow.
Yeah. Basically, I brought my work laptop in case in case this happened and I had to log in and work from home today, which I did. And then other than that, I did not bring my personal laptop, which is what I use to actually upload the episodes. So this will be a day late. Actually, maybe depending on what time we get home and how busy. We'll see. This episode will go up when it goes up. Is the honest answer.
But if we saw you this weekend, we hope you have fun. If you're following us, make sure to like and subscribe since we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, like, subscribe, share, bother your friends with it. Tell everybody you know that this is awesome. I didn't know.
And if you want to see what cons we're going to be at, in theory, at least in the future, you can always check our con spreadsheet.
Which is it's in the description on YouTube and it's in the show notes on Spotify and Amazon and all those places.
And if you would like to comment privately, you can always leave a message at concouplepodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, concouplepodcast@gmail.com, or there is just the comments section of the YouTube video, whatever you want. Again, engagement, yay.
Engagement, yay.
Like, again, this is not a podcast we make money off of, like, at all in any way. So.
Like, we've talked about it with you if you would like, because I would still probably keep working even if like this was somehow the most popular podcast on YouTube or something.
Yeah.
Or Spotify or whatever, which it's never going to be.
It's never going to be. It's way too niche.
But if you enjoy our content, we do like that. Because
Yes.
it is con content, and con content is the best type of content.
Exactly. And if you listen to it and you like want to come up and say hi to us at the convention we're at, please do. We love it when people do that.
We love it when people do that.
So yeah. So at this point, I think we will sign off, and hopefully we'll be seeing you next week.
Yeah, we're getting to Columbus.
Yeah, another 30 miles. So yeah, so thank you very much for listening, and hopefully
remember, we told our sheriff's office to make sure the drive this time was fine.
Yes, they have downgraded it to the point where we're allowed to drive home.
Yes, before we got there.
Yes. So yeah, so thank you very much for listening, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Shout out to that one sheriff.
He was a deputy.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye. They should cash you in a film.